2018. In a written letter, the man apologised for what he put the woman through. The full report is available on our website, highlandradio.com. There's some disruption on the roads in Donegal this morning due to overnight snowfalls. A nationwide standard yellow ice warning is due to be lifted later this morning. However, Met Éireann is warning that hazardous conditions will remain due to freezing temperatures. Alan O'Reilly from Carlow Weather says the cold spell could remain until the end of the week, particularly in the northwest.
This is more of a cold blast from the north, really, which will possibly last up to Friday, especially in the northern part of the country. But it's not anything like the beast from the east, and we're not going to see temperatures dropping quite as low as that or as sustained as that either. But there is a risk of some heavy wintry falls in northern areas, especially on Thursday and Friday.
Part of the A5 outside Strabane is closed following a crash this morning. Police are currently at the scene of the two-vehicle collision on the Strabane Road between Victoria Bridge and Newton Stewart. To allow emergency services deal with the incident, drivers are advised to seek an alternative route. No further details are known at this time. The eviction ban will end as planned on March the 31st. Housing Minister Darragh O'Brien will bring the proposal to colleagues at this morning's Cabinet meeting. Plans for developing a budget package for both landlords and tenants will also be discussed, with details to come at a later date. Solidarity People Before Profit TD McBarry says the government is fully aware of the damage ending the ban will cause.
This is a reckless act. It's a reckless act by a government of free market extremists. They are making this decision in the full knowledge that it will result in a surge of evictions and increased homelessness for large numbers of men, women and children. If ever there was a time for a housing protest movement in this country, that time is now.
Weather now frosty this morning with icy stretches. A cold, mostly sunny and dry day, though wintry showers will occur. Highest temperatures of just 3 to 5 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Yeah, we're good mates, yeah. Look, I'm always there for him, 100%, through thick and thin. And sure, he likes having me around. Anytime he's going out, I'll get the shout, you know. And someday, I'll probably kill him.
Smoking isn't the friend you think it is. Quit for 28 days and start taking back control. Find out how at quit.ie or free phone 1800 201 203. From the HSE.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. 4 minutes past 9, Tuesday the 7th of March. How are you keeping? It's another day here on the 9 till noon show, and it's a cold day outside, isn't it? Heard Michaela talking about the weather warning being lifted at 10, but I think it's going to bed in here for the next couple of days. Footpaths are terrible already in certain parts of the county. Back roads also really difficult as well, so be careful, especially if you're in your back wheel drive. It's dangerous. Or if you're out walking as well, as I say, I noticed a few of the footpaths on the way to work not in good shape. Still don't grit them, probably never will, but anyway. If you want to keep us updated on anything that's happening out there, 086 60 25,000, WhatsApps and text that number, 086 60 25,000. You can give us a call too, of course, on 07491 25,000, and email us comments at highlandradio.com. If you're listening to the podcast or the overnight, where we replay the show from 1, I believe it is. I'm normally asleep at that time, and I certainly wouldn't be listening to myself anyway. But you can email us, by the way. You know, get your phone out. If maybe you're a night work, you're on continental shifts, or maybe you just don't sleep well, don't be afraid to email, and we pick them up the next morning, or WhatsApp as well, 086 60 25,000. Just because you're listening on podcast or overnight doesn't mean you can't be part of the programme, of course. We are continuing our search for our finalist to go forward and represent this region in a huge national competition. Oisín Ní is in with us around about 10:30, performing live 2 tracks. One of them will be asking you to vote on to choose one of our 4 finalists as a winner overall to go forward and represent us. They've already won a great prize and will go on to get great exposure and even further prizes. We had a fantastic performance yesterday, and I guarantee you the next 3 are as good. It's going to be a tough one. So stay tuned for that. Community Garda information's coming up for you after 10. The very first time you'll hear of the latest appeals and information from An Garda Síochána before they start popping up elsewhere. Make sure you tune in for that live just after 10 o'clock. That and so much more besides. Any news breaking overnight, you want to get involved, you want to get off your chest, as I say, contact us on that as well. And just whilst I remember, because it was towards the end of the last week, do you remember there was a lady on with us, her mother, I think she was in her 80s, early 80s, 81 if not mistaken. She had problems with her phone, do you remember? And it was off for a couple of weeks, and then they said to her, Vodafone they said to her that it might be that they'll get it sorted within 10 days. Well, it was sorted the next morning. I don't think I mentioned that the following day, but I know some of you were messaging in to see if she got sorted, but we got that sorted the very next morning. And when I got off air, and fair play, a lady from Vodafone rang me and said she'd take control of the situation and sort it, and she did. Okay, so credit where it is due. Of course, we often highlight when companies, there are faults, and that was a fault in this case with Vodafone, but they took the complaint on board, took ownership and sorted it. So that's good news for that lady. I just wanted to update you on that, and to be fair to Vodafone as well. On to the newspapers this morning. The Derry Journal: almost 200 businesses and organisations have signed an open letter to the NI Department for Infrastructure in a united show of support for the long-delayed A5 Western Transport Corridor. The letter, coordinated by the Derry and Letterkenny Chamber of Commerce, has been signed by 184 organisations from across Derry, Donegal and Tyrone. It stresses the importance of the infrastructure project to the economic and societal prospects of the region. The A5 is a crucial infrastructural project for the North West. Once improved, will deliver stronger and better connectivity for our region. The letter reads, along with the improvements to the A6, the strengthening connectivity will mean bringing more investment, jobs and visitors to Derry, Londonderry, Donegal and the wider North West. And of course, they want to point out the safety positives there as well. On to the Irish Independent this morning. Garda are hoping CCTV footage from a nearby village will help them as they investigate the murder of Mayo farmer John Brogan. It emerged that the man arrested for the killing had been in a pub earlier in the day and had a row with a person well known to the victim. Mr. Brogan, who was 82, was found dead in his home at Pheasants Hill on the outskirts of Castlebar on Sunday evening after passers-by were alerted to a fire in the hallway. After emergency services put out the blaze, Mr. Brogan was found inside the property, having suffered apparent gunshot wounds. A man in his mid-60s was arrested in the vicinity and a weapon believed to be a shotgun was recovered. Gardaí now examining if the chief suspect had been at a pub in a nearby village earlier on Sunday and coincidentally encountered a person well known to Mr. Brogan. It's believed there had been a verbal row between the two, and Gardaí have collected CCTV from businesses in the village to help establish the movement of the suspect in the time leading up to the murder. Gardaí are also aware of a previous outburst and accusations by the chief suspect directly to Mr. Brogan in the recent past. On to the Irish Times today. It'll be several weeks before technology to force drones from the skies around Dublin Airport is up and running, with its deployment dependent on delivery time from the manufacturers. Now, this is a problem that was in airports all across the world. I don't know why all of a sudden there's a peak in drone activity around Dublin Airport, but it's very disruptive. Lots of flights being diverted over the course of the various instances, thousands of passengers being inconvenienced. The airlines, of course, very vocal in saying, look, there's technologies there, sort this out. Government being accused of foot dragging in this regard. Well, with the coalition under pressure from airlines after drones disrupted operations at the airport, Minister for Transport Eamon Ryan and Minister of State Jack Chambers will outline a plan to Cabinet for drone security at the airport and the wider issue of protecting critical infrastructure from interference. However, on Monday night, that's last night, DAA, which operates the airport, warned that it did not want long-term responsibility for intercepting drones in its airspace. can't be beyond us, can it, in 2023? Irish Daily Mail, as all the papers are, confirming that the eviction ban is set to end. I'd be really curious as to what you, the listener, think of this, because we're hearing from government and the reasons why they're doing it. We're hearing from the opposition and why they think now's not the right time to do it, and this could be done or that could be done. But listen, let's hear from renters or landlords what your views are. You can WhatsApp or text them to 086 660 25,000, because coalition leaders have decided not to extend the ban on evictions, which is due to expire at the end of this month following late night talks. The shock decision came after the Attorney General, Rossa Fanning, last night warned senior members of the government that an extension of the ban would not survive a legal challenge. Well, maybe wait and see. Instead, the Cabinet will look to introduce further tenant protections and measures to encourage landlords to stay in the market, but details on how this will be achieved are yet to be finalised. We are at the peak of the housing market, so maybe a lot of people who have, second properties are looking to offload them now anyway. But anyway, Housing Minister Darragh O'Brien met with the three coalition party leaders, Taoiseach Leo Varadkar, Taoiseach Micheál Martin and the Transport Eamon Ryan, Transport Minister, to finalise a memo for Cabinet, I presume it's going to be, this morning on the issue. Prior to the meeting, it was anticipated the ban would be extended with some adjustments. However, the former Attorney General Paul Gallagher had advised the government when introducing the initial ban that it could only be done on a time-bound basis, and extending it beyond March would not work. Mr Gallagher, who was replaced by the incumbent AG Rossa Fanning when Mr Varadkar took over the role of Taoiseach in December, also advised that the ban was likely to face a legal challenge. It's just interesting that new leaders bring in new AGs, and some would say that this AG happens to agree with Leo Varadkar's angle on it. But anyway, it's a government-wide decision. All are responsible. Someone's worked out in the Irish Sun that ending smoking would free up nearly 1 million GP appointments a year in England alone. This is a charity, leading charity has claimed. Around 75,000 consultations a month would be saved, analysis by Cancer Research shows. The charity called on the UK government to invest more to services that help people quit, as cigs remain a big cause of cancer and death. And I wonder if any of you were listening to our chat with the HSC and their cessation team and decided to pack up the cigarettes at that time. Did you? And how's it going for you? If you don't mind sharing, if you don't want to, that's perfectly fine. But you know the number, 086 60 25,000. Well, Chief Executive Michelle Mitchell said UK Chancellor Jeremy Hunt must be bold with tobacco control in his budget. So the UK figures in the paper today, but I presume we can scale them and see similar results here in Donegal. Not in Donegal, well, in Donegal, but also in Ireland as a whole. Right, on to the Mirror finally this morning. And just a wee bit more meat on the bone. Well, there's an elephant tossing over a car on page 14, if you're interested. It's a van. He's just walked up, tossed it over. But that's not what I'm talking about. But if you want to see an elephant toss over a lorry, page 14, or just Google it. But anyway, motorists could be charged more than €100 for a trip to Dublin or into Dublin town for the day under proposals to reduce urban congestion. Now, maybe some of you love Dublin, are in and out of it all the time, or maybe you have to. But as I said in the show yesterday, I don't like how busy it is anyway, and it's not even that big a city. But £100 to go in a trip into Dublin town. Are you having a laugh? What, and pay €12 for a drink, or €20 for a sandwich and a cup of tea? But experts say emissions could be driven down substantially if government discouraged motorists from going into our urban centres. But the sense of urgency to tackle the problem is dividing the cabinet, with ministers from Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael less eager than the Greens to act in the short term. Taoiseach Leo Varadkar told reporters in Waterford yesterday the congestion charge is not something the government is considering introducing immediately. He added, it's about moving towards urban compact growth. It's not about banning cars or crucifying motorists, he said. Congestion charges aren't on the agenda at the moment for Irish cities, but it's something I think you could see happening and making sense in Dublin in the future. Okay, well, sure, we shall see. And I don't think regional towns, especially the likes of Letterkenny with city status aspiration, would be exempt from that. So if I was a business in and around Letterkenny, I'd be thinking, where am I going to be in 5 years in terms of in terms of vehicle access. I presume they mean ICE cars, internal combustion engine cars. What do they? You'd get a break for an electric car. Good morning, Marie, Paul, Annie and John, who are saying hello to us, commenting on our Facebook. Just to remind you, you can watch the show, including our Community Garda information, our live performance for Off-Stream Knee and everything else as well. Brendan Devaney is going to be joining us after the break. He's back on the show on a different topic to sport yesterday. He's just been out and about at the weekend and noticed some anomalies that are, that on the face of it, don't seem to make sense. Hop on to Facebook on your phone, tablet, smart TV, or your Fire Stick. You can go on YouTube too. I prefer YouTube because you can rewind on YouTube or pause it, and you don't lose where you're at. And also just to remind you that there's captions on it. Okay, that's really the reason why I started doing it. There's captions there, so people who are hard of hearing can keep up to date. They're not perfect, but they're not bad. They pick up most of what I'm rattling about. Okay, let us take that break. We'll be right back after these messages.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the C-Store National Large Forecourt of the Year for 2022.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
You can rely on a Giga home. You can Giga stream all Giga weekend. You can feel Giga safe as your kids hop online to have Giga fun, and you can Giga boogie in your Giga basement. Vodafone Giga Home combines super Wi-Fi, always connected, and secure net for a broadband connection you can always rely on. So get on the Giga train. Search Vodafone Giga Home to find out more. Vodafone, together we can.
Subject to location and availability. Giga Home is subject to subscription. Cancel any time. Eligibility limitations and terms apply. See vodafone.ie.
Letterkenny Show Society annual pedigree bull sale will be held in Rafo Mart on Tuesday 7th of March at 6:30pm with 50 pedigree bulls on offer, consisting of 32 Charolais, 8 limousines, 5 Hereford and 5 Angus. All stock are eligible for export to Northern Ireland. Online bidding available on martbids.ie. That's this Tuesday at Rafo Mart.
Hi, Teresa Mannion here with a road safety alert for bad weather. Black ice is one of winter's biggest hazards and is hard to see. Watch out for sheltered or shaded areas on the road, under trees and near high walls. Visit rsa.ie from the Road Safety Authority.
Forward Emphasis International, based in Mallinhead and Belfast, are actively recruiting for customer service advisors and experienced motor claims handlers with both in-office and hybrid opportunities available. Fully funded insurance and financial service qualifications delivering attractive career path opportunities are available. Please visit their website, forwardemphasis.ie, and apply via their careers page.
Now, just to let you know, a little later on, we're going to be giving you an update on those cervical check figures we were talking about yesterday. You might recall there's just something about them didn't make sense to me. The huge drop off in women going for cervical check, and we had cervical check on to us with figures and some sort of background as to what may have led to that huge drop off, and it's not as problematic as it seemed on the face of it. So stay tuned. We'll update that a little later on. Update you with that a little later on. A caller says the law states that learner drivers need to be accompanied by a fully qualified driver at all times. Yesterday, I witnessed 6 L drivers driving alone in Letterkenny. I knew to look at the age of them. These drivers were in fact the learner drivers. If one of them hit me, where would I be with the damage done to my car? Why are insurance companies insuring these young people knowing full well they will drive alone as soon as they get the insurance disc? Well, they are still, if they have insurance, they're still insured as far as I'm aware. They're still insured in the event that they were in collision with you. That being said, and I know you recognise that because of their age, there probably are L drivers, but there could be a few young ones in the house and maybe they are, although I suppose you'd expect to see an N plate there as well, wouldn't you, if they recently qualified? But look, I trust your instincts on that one. How big of a problem is it? I know it's tough to get a test. Hi, Greg, is there a delay in breast check too? I'm now 52 and I've heard nothing, thank you. Well, listen, it's very important we check that out and leave it with me. Another, hi, Greg, can you also ask Betty about the breast check? Heard that people that should have been checked in COVID times are being sidetracked and they are doing people now. Caroline might mention that to Betty before we bring her on to see if she's got any updates on breast check services in Donegal, and we can cover both issues. Yes. Okay. Right, Brendan Devaney is joining us now, I think. Brendan, you there? Are you? Good morning to you.
Yes, Greg, how are you?
Good to have you with us. Listen, thanks for rejoining us because this is completely unsport related, this one. You were out and about, were you, with the family on the weekend, and what did you come across?
Yeah, I do have a life outside of sport. I do an odd thing there, Greg, as well. But
do you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Go on. Of course you do.
Go to games. No, do you know what, Greg? Just yesterday there was, or Sunday, we were in the house, and I suppose the kids are running about. We were watching a bit of Shrek. There was a bit of medieval stuff going down. So I says, we're going to Newton to visit the wee boy's granny. So I said, listen, I'll take you to a special wee place, a fort. So they hopped into the car. They had the wee swords and that with them, which was a bit of a mistake because they ended up battering the life at each other on the way down the road. I had to take the swords off them. But we get to, of course, Green and Avelia. Greg, was a nice, fresh day, beautiful place to visit. And as ever, with this place, Greg, the barrier is down. Now, I think over the past year, I would say I've tried to visit Green and Avelia maybe 6 or 7 times randomly, and the barrier's been down every single time I've got there. Now, the view up there, Greg, as we know, I've been to places all over the world. I can't say there's a better view there. The Foyle, the Swilly, Inch Island, Tyrone, Derry, Donegal, all in the background. And along with that, it's got the history of the place, the fort, one of the oldest fort, if not the oldest fort in Ireland of its kind. So I looked at the thing on the barrier. I think it was open for maybe 3 hours that day. Now, this was 4 o'clock. So I've heard of stuff, people messing about in the car park and that, Greg, but I can't understand how we can't sort that out, maybe by, say, blocking off bits of the car park or putting the barrier near where the car park is. So if it was a case where we could figure out a way of doing it, but I don't understand. Surely that happens in the evening or at night and that, Greg. And as we left there, Greg, funny enough, another small thing, we came down the hill back to the main road, and in the foreground was Bird Castle. And again, another amazing place. And my wee boys, honest to God, Greg, they said, can we go there? And I was like, there's no road there. We can't go there. And I thought, there's 2 unbelievable monuments in our place with unreal views. And we can't technically visit either of them,
Yeah, and I mean, you're a family man, taking the family out, bringing them from what they were enjoying the television into the real world. But as well as that, the tourist season is getting longer and longer, and it's not as long as people want it to be. I mean, I think there's quite a few tourists about at the moment. You're seeing them here and there. Everywhere seems kind of busy. If I was a tourism provider, I'd also be pulling my hair out at this one. On a Sunday afternoon, it's bright, till 6 o'clock, and it's open from 12:30 in the afternoon till 3 p.m. or 12 to 3 p.m. I mean, we're shooting ourselves in the foot here. As I say, not just for locals, but for day trippers.
Yeah, unbelievable, Greg. Listen, if you look at, I remember the old Board Falcher ads years ago, and Green and Avelia used to be in a nationwide ad selling Ireland to the world. If you look at pictures and images that really, social media sells this country, how could you get a more beautiful picture than being on top of Green and Avelia and added to the history of the place? And we went down travelling there last year, different monuments down through Ireland, to Oduda Castle. On the way out to Enniscrone there, went right down to Spanish Point, went out to Scattery Island, because I named my wee lad Senan. That's where St. Senan's Monastery is at. And we were just on a wee bit of a tour, and there seemed to be so much tourism, places set up at different places in Ireland, Greg, which, there was tours and there was shops, and there seemed to be so much more things about. And here we are with this amazing thing, and it's open for a couple of hours a day. And as you said, I mean, a tourist could be randomly going to visit Greenwood at any time. I mean, the fact that barrier's down, and I know people say you could walk up. It's a monster of a hill. My 2-year-old, that would have been too much work for me, Greg. But I just think that.
Yeah, but in this day and age, we need to be inclusive as well. So we couldn't have. There's no point having a situation where you, in good health with your young family, could go up, but someone who can't. It doesn't make any sense. And I don't know if it's a thing about, like, we're told how important tourism is to our economy. Let's just stick with that point for a minute. But it seems any time things are a little bit complicated, like, say, public toilets, for example. We don't have public toilets in certain places, and you kind of get the feeling the argument is, well, we can't maintain them, or who's going to maintain them, or they're going to get dirty, so you don't put them there. We don't open up certain places like Green and Avalia because, well, maybe there could be some antisocial behaviour or whatever. Listen, let's hire people. If it's that important to us, let's hire people that go around these places. Let's put up CCTV. If there's any antisocial behaviour, let it be flagged on the CCTV for the Garda. Do you know, we can't always choose the passive path of least resistance. We have to come up with modern solutions to make sure that this thing that's so important is easily accessible.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever the issue is, there's a way around it, because we have monuments and we have tourist places all over the country that we're not shutting down for nearly the whole day. And as you said, this thing about selling their country and selling, I suppose, this a draw. So we have to protect it. So whatever it is, Greg, there must be a way around it to get us back up there. As I say, Greg, I would say it's a year now. I've randomly stopped at different times. And I think the times have changed, you know, as the year goes on. And I rang a number on the board. I got another number for a place in Leitrim that handles all these things. It just went through the answer machine. There was no space left in the box. Maybe there was other people ringing as well, but that's as far as I got. I did ask Paul Cannon down there to look into it as well, because even for people in the local area, Greg, it's such a nice place to take your kids, and obviously they're restricted.
What happens is you go up there, right, if you have access to it. This is how it works. You go up there, you get your phone out, right, you take a picture, you have a decent following on social media, you post it on Twitter, people all around the country see it, they go, wow, that's beautiful, I never even knew that existed. They come up to visit it. That's how it works. But you go there, the gate's down, you're a peed off local, you drive off, the kids are disappointed. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense.
If you're on about toilets and security, say, so those people that are coming to visit are spending X amount while they're here. So that means that the government really have to say, right, there's X amount of tourism coming to Donegal. There's something in place to pay for these things. A bit like the ranger that's up there. I'm not too sure what her job is, Greg, in Greening, but you know, if she needs help with security, then that has to be something that's sorted and looked at.
What happens down the country? You've talked about being in different places, and then our listeners can get involved in this, of course, as well. I mean, like, say, the likes of Kerry, is that comparable here? I mean, if I drive down there, a place is going to be shut in the middle of the afternoon on a Sunday? I don't know. It doesn't feel like that would be the case.
No. And Greg, just with us in Donegal here, I'm not going to bang the drum about being cut off and where we're at and all that geographically, but you do get a sense down the country there's a much more tourism drive. You know, you see the coaches and the buses and the tours and all that. So if we're lagging behind, the last thing we need to do is have one of our most amazing places in the county shut off for nearly the whole day. I mean, something has to be sorted to get that opened up properly.
Yeah, caller says, I agree. We went along to it and it was closed, but you still have walking access to it. Surely Brendan should be encouraging fitness. Look, but what we're saying is, you know, that's all well and good. But if you've got a young family, or you've got a baby, or if you've got if you're with someone who is using a walking aid or is in a wheelchair, I know exactly what you're saying, and it's great if you're on your own, you're fit, and you can run up there. But that's not providing a tourism product.
Yeah. Well, listen, my wee boy's only 2.5, Greg. But
well, I wouldn't be lugging him up there.
That extra bit of weight, he would make it about 50 steps up there. And it'll be on the shoulder. The other wee boy's 4, and the other lad's 12. So listen, we would. It's Lucas, the bigger boy. I end up carrying Trassa. The creditor has to carry the younger boy. So yeah, I mean, good luck with that.
He's a big lad. I'd send him back to the car and head on myself. Right, okay. No, listen. It's funny we're having this conversation in March. Normally we have it in April, May, June, July, August, September about tourism, access to our facilities and facilities for people when they are there. And I think it's a constructive conversation we're having, Brendan. This is like, you know, as I say, beautiful, fresh spring. Everyone's mad to get out. You can see it on the streets. You can see attendance of football games. People want to be out doing stuff. And yet we have these beautiful things like our natural amenities, our history, and they're not accessible in the middle of the day on a lovely Sunday afternoon. Doesn't make sense.
And Greg, just a word on Birdcastle as well, and the history that's around that. I mean, of course, as a wee lad, we used to cycle up to Greenan and Bird. Now, Birdcastle, obviously, it's you couldn't access it. It's dangerous, but there's no actual access to it unless you go through a couple of farmers' fields. But I was thinking to myself, surely we could require a road up, and yet there's only 2 fields there. And if you had to cordon it off, but I just think between the 2 places, but the fact that you can view both, you know, if you're thinking about a tourist here, if you went to Greenan and you knew there was a road up to Bird, you would go and see the history and see the 2 places. I don't know why we haven't at this stage been able to get access to that castle as well. And then there's a beautiful view from the far side of that too as well. So that's just another small point, I suppose.
No, it's all good. Listen, Brent, thanks very much for that. Appreciate you raising the issue. Lots of people in agreements with you. Have a lovely day. Take care. Right, okay. What do you think? 086 60 25,000. A caller says it's the same in the summer. Public toilets are only open at certain times of the year. Tourism is not only about foreign tourists. Locals visiting these places are far more important than any marketing campaign, as their word will spread the word better. Yeah, indeed, I agree with the sentiments there. I have visitors staying with me from Savile last week. They were excited to visit on Greenon and were sadly disappointed that they couldn't get access. I agree. It's time these places were open all year round. Another, it's a beautiful place, but sadly compo culture has taken over this country, hence the need to keep cars off it after certain hours. Well, it's not the same in other parts of the country. You know, it's they've figured out ways elsewhere, haven't they? Surely we should be able to do so too. Talking about electricity prices, we were chatting yesterday about it. A caller says, electricity bill standing charge January 21st, standing charge per day, 04182. January 2020, January 22nd, it's 04040. Now, I am not sure how that breaks down in cents, but that's per day. January 23, it's 07614. That's the standing charge. So is that 76.14 cent, I wonder? Then you have VAT on top of that. Let's hope that when the prices come down, the standing charges also come down. Another caller says, good morning, Greg. We have a group of people who are adamant boys can be girls and vice versa. They're dangerous people, weak men and women. Let kids be kids. They say there's 100 genders now, but yet go for gender-affirming surgery. You have but 2 choices. But there are different views in relation to that. And I think you're talking and referencing that letter that was sent out from the group representing Catholic churches, or at least one of them, that said they didn't want children to be taught about transgenderism. Leo Varadkar yesterday said, and maybe this is the middle ground, he said, look, school's about preparing children for the world. There are trans people in the world. You don't have to say it's right or it's wrong or try and influence them in any shape or form, but you can educate them that this is actually what is out there in the real world. Maybe that's the middle ground there. Hi, Greg. The Greens will soon make it going for a drive illegal. They want to control everything we do. God help us. We will obey like sheep. The only thing, and I said this to people off the radio as well, if anyone thinks that after the next election that the Greens aren't in power, that all of a sudden diesel cars and petrol cars, the VAT will come down, the taxes will be reduced, there'll be no 2030 targets. There's only one way this is going, and whether the Greens are in power or not, that's the way it's going. And there's no, as far as I'm aware, there's no major alternative party suggesting otherwise. It's an agenda, and it's an agenda the country is signed up to. Yes, the Greens have their fingerprints on it, and they're trying to move things quicker. But I don't believe, and I'm open to correction, that there's any party that's saying, right, okay, we're going to lift coal bans, we're going to allow you to burn the old-fashioned smoky coal, we're going to lift turf cutting bans, we're going to reduce carbon taxes on home heating oil, petrol and diesel. No one's suggesting that. This is only going one way. There is no, as far as I can see, and I'm open to correction, there's no alternative to what's going on at the moment. Okay. Let us now say hello to Kilger. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Hello, Greg. How are you?
I'm good, Kilgo. What's your experience?
Well, it's dealing with expressways. For the first time, I think it's the first time in my life, I decided I've had to go to Galway, down to the Rapid Access Prostate Clinic a few times, and I was down in January, and I travelled in the car, and it takes it out of me, to be quite honest with you. You have to stay the night, blah blah blah. So I got another appointment, and I had to go down on Saturday. Actually, it was down for an MRI scan. So I thought I'll take the bus. Let them take the strain and no hassle.
Mm-hmm.
Good enough. Book the tickets, no hassle and that. But what I discovered was I had to get somebody to give me a lift because there's nowhere to park your car. Like, I have to travel from Muncrana, which is 42 kilometres, There's nowhere to park your car.
This is from Letterkenny, Kilger, is it? Pardon my ignorance.
It is from Letterkenny to Galway, yeah. So there was nowhere to park the car, so my wife had to take me up. That was the first thing. And I thought, oh, God, in most places now they have this park and ride where you can park your car free to get you.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have it. They don't have it in Letterkenny, or Bus Éireann don't seem to do it. So I got the bus. It was grand. I have to say there was no problem. The journey was good. But here's the problem. Toilet stops. We had one stop. Now, the journey is nearly 5 hours. It's about 4 3/4 hours. We had one stop in Sligo for 10 minutes and there are toilets in the station there. Every other stop is like a bus stop, basically. There's nowhere that you can go to the bathroom. And I thought, my God, like, for people travelling from Donegal, young or old, I mean, just, can't holding on to Sligo just seems daft. You might have to go after Sligo and you've nowhere to go.
There's no toilets on the bus.
There's no toilet on the bus. In other words, I thought that this was one of the things. And when you're talking about transport and the Greens, it was one of the things that they were supposed to be doing, but there's no toilet on the bus.
What do you do in that situation, like, Kilger? Not you personally, like us put ourselves in someone's position, because, I think we all know people that would not be able to be without going to the bathroom for 3 hours. Like, I think everyone would know someone. Well, like, what do you do? Say you didn't need to go in Sligo and on you go. As a fully grown adult sitting there thinking, what's going to happen here? Am I going to go to the bathroom in this bus sitting down in this chair? Like, it must be incredibly horrible.
I actually heard on the way back, now, in fairness, it wasn't too far to go, and it was a younger person, like a lot younger than me, and it was in Ballybuffet. We had stopped again at a stop, and this guy shouted, "Driver, is there any chance of me getting out here to go into, I think it was Apache Pizza, and use the toilet?" And he says, you won't get in there. He says, you have to hang on. I'll only be 10 minutes. Like, the driver, now, in fairness, he was nice. He said, I'll be as quick as I can, 10 minutes, and you'll get to Kenny. I just think, particularly for people in Donegal, because we have so far to go to most of the major places, and to hold on for such a long time, I think it should be, when expressways and when they're trying to get this travel, think about things. It's not, it's not too hard.
Yeah, because I know there are some buses with toilets. Now, I've spoken to people who use buses regularly, and through COVID, you had no access to the toilets, right? And then post-COVID, there was still no access to the toilets. But then, as I say, I don't know the bus network well enough to know, and there's people listening and that would know more than you and I, Kilgar, because you haven't really used them much. Like, are there toilets on some of these buses, and can you access them now? Because I would not fancy... it's like getting on a plane. It's like getting on a plane to Dublin Airport, going to Lanzarote, knowing you couldn't go for a pee. It's the exact same, pretty much. The timing is about the same.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's what I was thinking. At least on the plane, you can get
you get up and have a wee, yeah.
There was no toilet in either of these buses. Like, on the way down, there was no, definitely not, and there was none on the way up, And I'm just going to throw in another thing that I saw, because driving the car, you don't notice these things, unfortunately, But on that bus, I noticed the amount of homes in every town and village that are not being used. It's unbelievable. I mean, they're crying out for space, and if you sit on the bus, that's what I'm saying, get the minister to sit in the bus and go down just this way.
Yeah, I know you're on. There's like ghost towns, isn't there? You can see where the old petrol station used to be and the old pub used to be, and then there's like, what seems like. But maybe people don't want to live there in some of these places, Kilgar. And there's a few towns in Donegal going that way. But you on about actually in populated towns?
I'm talking about even on the main street in towns. It's unbelievable. And I mean, people, it's probably refugees I'd be more thinking of. I mean, they might not want to live, but I mean, we don't have much of a choice at the minute, the way things are going. Whether people have a choice or not.
Yeah, I get you.
But then, honestly, the amount of towns, forget about outside the towns, I'm talking about the amount of towns, good-sized towns, that have accommodation. And I know like loads of my friends that were brought up on the main street of Buncrana. It's not, I was brought up above a pub. I mean, it's not that bad.
I think there are some of these, there's nothing wrong with urban living, but I think there's some of these towns and villages that you talk of, and I think I have a fair idea of some of them that you're on about, that actually would benefit greatly by a boost in the population as well for their future, because I think some of them are dying on their feet.
I think it would get life into towns, and I mean, you would really need to have a national plan to do this. I can't see the way people are, the way we are, myself.
The only problem is, Kilgar, I can think of like 3 national plans. But just talk about this eviction ban that's happening, right? This eviction ban was brought in to avoid people being put out into the streets, and quite rightly so. But it gave us 6 months, 9 months. We could even extend it out to a year and a half to come up with an alternative. But we have no alternative. So in terms of, there are plans there in terms of getting, houses back into use and all that. But there's no progress. It's all talk. I've done a lot of interviews over the years about new schemes to go in and in urban areas take over derelict properties, do them up for it's all talk. There was schemes whereby if you had an old house, like this dereliction grant, is anyone really applying to that? And if not, why not? Do we're not doing anything. We had some space with the eviction ban, and here we are still in the exact same position. The housing crisis has gotten worse, and now we're going to be throwing people out into the streets from April.
Yeah, they go down the road, they say, we'll do this, we'll do that. It takes a year to decide what they're going to do. And then nothing happens. Somebody has to take the bull by the horns and do it. I mean, it can be done. It's not going to be done overnight, but it can be done.
The thing is, if you really start pumping money into building houses, if they really started properly funding the rebuilding of defected concrete block houses, right? Look at the amount of VAT and tax they would take in. Look at the amount of employment they would generate. Look at the big lift there would be for the construction industry as a whole. If it was done correctly, it's win-win. You get people into homes. You get people into new homes that are the old ones are falling around them because of defective concrete. And as I say, I said this in the program before, Kilgar, we're tiny. In the 26 counties, because we can only at this point talk about the Republic in terms of plans, but there's 5.5 million people in what we're told is a relatively decent economy. We shouldn't really have any problems, should we, Kilgar? We should be. We're the size of Manchester. We should have all of this should be sorted.
There should be no problem. I mean, it is a fact. If it would cost money, but what goes around comes around. You could spend money, and as you say, it filters back into the economy. Should it be a painter, decorator? Should it be the builder? It filters the whole way through. The money comes back to the government, comes back to us because it's our money. We keep saying the government, it's our money.
Exactly. And the only people I know, not the only people, but the majority of people I know that are doing well spend money. They've borrowed to invest, or they've taken risks or whatever, and then there's people like me with nothing because I'm too timid to do anything. I don't you know what I mean? And I'm Ireland at the moment, right? Because I'm sitting there afraid to do anything, and yet there's people around me who roll the dice, who take chances and accumulate wealth. We should be doing that as a nation.
I think the government could, they sold off to these funds, they sold off profitable things. It's like, to me, it would be like on the water thing when they were talking about privatising it. Why do you privatise something like that? It's a necessary. That's number one. Electricity, it's a necessary.
Well,
it's
actually,
money.
the electricity will, you see, if they privatise that, it'll save us money because there'll be more competition in the market and the consumer will be better off. How are you finding that? How's that going for you?
I look at England and I see what happened in England with the private. There were certain things that I think need to be privatised and certain things that don't. And I think electric, because it's power in more ways than one. You're holding power. You have the power. You don't privatise it, and they invest the money. Like, I agree that Electric Ireland, you're talking about prices should come down, but the good thing about it, at least the money that's been made is going back in to upgrading the service.
Yeah, but right. Well, I suppose, look, the government's got a huge stake in the ESB. It makes no difference anyway. I don't know. Sometimes I just can't get my head around it, but everything is set up. Everything is set up that not lots of people, but a small group of people profit in a crisis, right? And the situation for average Joes, us effectively, never improves. It's always a constant struggle. Right, Kilger, we'll see what people think on your general views, but on the buses as well, I think that's a valid one. I hope everything's going well for you in terms of health and stuff, Kilgar, and thank you so much for chatting to us. And a lovely name, by the way. Where's that from?
Well, my mum, I have 5 other brothers, and they're all normal names, and I think I'm the youngest, and I think Mommy ran to them.
She ran out of names.
And she ran out of names, so I'm the guy.
Well, listen, she's not as bad as me, because my middle son, I opened up the name book, and the first name is Aaron, 2 A's, and I says, that'll do.
Yeah. Oh, well, listen,
I never got past the first name in the name book. I like Kilgar anyway, because no one will forget your name.
Well, I have a son now. I decided, well, seeing I was called it, he's going to be called it too. So
you stuck him with Kilgar as well, did you?
I said it.
Good man.
Well, the great thing, I never could call names at school because people thought, well, he's Kilgar, let him go.
Yeah. Has the poor lad not been through enough? Is that what? All right, Kill guys. Away. I think it's a lovely name. Thanks so much for joining us and chatting. Lovely to speak to you. All right, take care. Bye bye. That is Kilgar there.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
If something's free, why would you turn it down? I mean, a free haircut from a 5-year-old. Oh, no. Or a free sample of onion paste. Oh. Well then, how about a free tour of your neighbour's new shed? Oh, sounds, well... OK, look, they were bad examples. But how about a free eye test and free glasses from the €69 range at Specsavers with your PRSI? Well, that sounds like something to smile about.
Book an appointment or find out more at specsavers.ie. PDO Thread Lifts, the ultimate non-surgical lift for the skin, improving facial contours, lifting and tightening jowls, the neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor. For help choosing the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat-dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor. 07495 32575.
Inishowen Credit Union have recently launched Cultivate, an agricultural loan at only 6.55%, APR 6.75%. Call any of their 4 offices for more information or to make an appointment. Inishowen Credit Union, Buncrana, Carndona, Moville and Muff, supporting local farmers. Inishowen Credit Union is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Some sports demand resilience, grit, power. Cheltenham demands it all. And this is William Hill Racing at Cheltenham. Get our top price guarantee against selected bookmakers on all championship races. It's who you play with, William Hill.
Top prices from 9am 27th of February 23 until the start of each of the 4 championship races compared to selected competitors. Standard win market odds only. Excludes competitor offers. Further terms apply. 18 plus for advice and information. Visit gamblingcare.ie.
The Lidl Baby event is back, and you won't want to miss these great offers, like our new organic baby snacks from only $1.89, as voted by you, Ireland's favourite award-winning Loopy Loo nappies from $1.39. Keep them safe as houses with our quick close baby gate, only $24.99. And there's so much more. Go on, shop without compromise. Go full Lidl today.
Guess what? Larkins of New Mills are offering a 4-course dinner for Mother's Day, which includes starter, main course, dessert with tea or coffee, all for an incredible €23. To book, call today on 074 91 266 97. Early booking is advisable. Let our family look after yours this Mother's Day at Larkins of New Mills.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Fancy a European city break this summer? Discover the beautiful cities of Barcelona, Cologne and Milan with Ryanair. 6 flights a week for summer 2023. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Okay, let's look at that weather forecast now. And a frosty start this morning with icy stretches. A cold, mostly sunny and dry day, though wintry showers will occur. Highest temperatures of just 3 to 5 degrees. Light to moderate northerly winds will veer easterly in the afternoon. Now, yesterday we were speaking about what was a drop in cervical cancer screenings. The number of people screened for cervical cancer in Donegal last year is down 22% when compared to the previous year. Figures from the National Screening Service they've revealed. Now, as I said yesterday, and Betty Holmes rejoins us now. As I said yesterday in the programme, Betty, I wanted to see previous year's figures to see what the trend was. Do you know whether it was a carryover or what the crack was? But anyway, we've got further figures. And what's your reading of them, Betty? And a very good morning to you.
Oh, good morning, Greg. And I'm delighted that Cervical Check actually did respond, and I have to say they apologise for the delay in the respond to the email on Thursday. And I have to say it's really, really good news according to Cervical Check. Cervical Check said that 2021 was a bumper year for cervical screening uptake when women who were unable to come for screening due to COVID measures were able to access Cervical Check. And that meant that there was a 14% more women attended for screening in 2021 than predicted. And that they then expected the numbers would level out in 2022. They have said that there's no difficulty with sending out, no delays in sending out the appointments for women. They're all been sent out timely. It's all really, really good news, Greg. And what, to say that there was a 14% increase in 2021 is amazing.
So it was women that didn't get checked during COVID being caught up on really effectively, which means they did turn up, which is good. That means hopefully then we didn't lose many checks, although they would have been later because of COVID.
Yeah, they said that people who should have had theirs during COVID, they caught up, and it was all, when I talked to Fiona Ness, it was all really, really good news, all positive news. And even they said that nationwide, that they're up to date with their invites since December 2021, and they've remained up to date throughout 2022, and they also said that they were issuing results within 4 weeks in over 95% of the cases, which is excellent news as well, Greg. This is really, really good news. And I have to say that when we did see the figure of 9,444 for 2021, and then the drop down to 7,331, I did say that maybe when that figure was queried, from the local media or the press, that maybe the information should have been submitted with that again. But this is excellent news, and fair play to Cervical Check yesterday, coming back with the updated information, phoning, discussing the whole thing, and then I actually asked them to send it in an email so that we can actually forward it to all the local press as well, so that any woman who is worried that can be reassured. But the other thing that was stressed yesterday was that they were very keen to get the word out to women who may have stopped coming for whatever reason for their cervical check screening. And they would say, please encourage those women to come back and have their cervical check screening. Or if there's women who have never had a test and are in the relevant age group, and that's, I'm doing this from memory, Greg, is it 25 to 65? That they would actually go online and get registered. Now, also, we talked the thing about, if you hadn't got your letter, could you go? They're saying if you know the time that you had your last cervical screening and you're aware that it's that time, you can ring up your GP and make an appointment because you're on the register. So this is really, really good news, Greg. And again, like yesterday, we're saying any woman that is both cervical check and registered and you feel that you're due your follow-up screening, go make an appointment and get checked. This is a very, very important service. This is vital. If you're not registered, make sure that you get yourself registered and go for your check. Another good thing that we discovered yesterday, Greg, was you had made reference to the number of people who had come into the county, and we talked about that. And Fiona was able to update us that there's video information available in 22 languages for women who English isn't their first language. And that, those ladies can find out more about screening, and that's all available on the HSE website, with cervical screening. So it's all excellent. It's all really, really good news. But we would encourage anybody who has stopped going for their cervical screening, please, please, please make an appointment. Go and have yourself checked. If you have never had screening, please get registered on cervical check and start and go on those appointments. But the figures, Greg, that explains the fact that it was a bumper year and there was a 14% increase would explain what we felt was a considerable drop of 2,113. There's no drop. The figure of 7,331 for 2022 is a real figure, and that's excellent news, Greg. And I'm delighted to be able to update people on that. And I'm sorry if we scared people yesterday.
No, I think we were measured yesterday. We were measured yesterday. I knew that we had to look at previous figures, Betty, to get a sense of a trend, because it didn't make any sense to me. Actually, another one, we spoke yesterday when you were on. A caller was charged 50 euro. Well, following on from our chat yesterday and paying for the smear test,
that too.
She went into the surgery and got her 50 euro back.
Yes.
Okay,
well,
so that's a positive.
I queried that one yesterday as well, and we were able. I was going to actually just tell that lady she's entitled to her 50 euro back,
and she got it back,
which is excellent.
Okay, brilliant stuff.
But
yep.
Brilliant stuff. But again, women, it's very, very important that you go and have your cervical check, your smear. That is vital. And as I said yesterday, the life you save could be your own. And if you've stopped going for whatever reason, make sure you get back up there and get yourself screened. If you've never ever went, get on the cervical check website, register yourself and get for your cervical screening. And again, cervical check were very clear that they were very grateful to the GPs and healthcare professionals in Donegal who were providing very timely appointments to the women,
And you know what, too? If nothing else, we have had 2 days of talking about this, Betty, and opportunities to remind women to go and get checked. So, I think it's been a worthwhile exercise because it's given us a chance to talk and encourage people. Betty, listen, thanks for joining us again.
Thanks to everybody, and sincere thanks to Cervical Check for getting back.
For sure.
Please go and get it. And Greg, thank you to you and the whole team at Highland, because I'm aware that they sent you the response as well. Thanks.
Take care,
Appreciate
Betty.
it.
All right, thanks so much indeed. That's Betty Holmes there. 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and texts to that number, or give us a call on 0749 125,000. Back with Community Garda information. Oisín Ní performing live. That and so much more besides. Stay right where you are. News and obituary notices on the way.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Show the Monday blues the door. Kick them into touch. Banish them for good. With a wee treat at Kelly's Diner in Letterkenny. Maybe a coffee and scone, or an all-day breakfast, or a burger and chip. With American-style booth seating, fast and friendly service, a menu packed with tasty choices at great value, and loads of parking, it's a great stop-off any day of the week. Take back your Mondays at Kelly's Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Mr. Blue Sky. The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated €145 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
The perfect Mother's Day gift to see the one and only Tom Jones in Belfast. Join us as Highland Radio hit the road to see the timeless legend as he headlines Belsonic 2023, Friday 16th of June. Your trip includes luxury transfers, bed and breakfast in the 4-star Clayton Hotel Belfast and your standing ticket to the outdoor event. Contact us today on 074 9125,000 to see Tom Jones at Ormo Park Belfast, Friday 16th of June.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning. It's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the Highland Radio News Desk. A Donegal man who sexually assaulted his partner as she slept has been given a suspended sentence. The woman told the court in her victim impact statement that the offence had shattered her life and trust. She described feeling shock, sadness and anger in the aftermath of the experience. With more, here's Tara Duggan.
Man pleaded guilty to the sexual assault of the woman at their family home in Donegal on February 11th, 2018. Mr Justice Paul McDermott said the offence was a serious breach of trust and there was significant harm caused to the woman's life, as well as her safety and security in her own home and bedroom. A headline sentence of 4 years was set before mitigation. The judge took into account the early guilty plea, the remorse that had been expressed, and that the offence was not pre-planned. A sentence of 2 years and 6 months was then imposed. However, noting that there were no previous convictions, the judge was satisfied the features of the case indicated the sentence should be suspended. 3 years probation service was ordered and the accused was told not to approach or contact the woman directly. The accused was deemed at low risk of reoffending. In a written letter, the man apologised for what he'd pushed the woman through.
You can read a more detailed account on our website, highlandradio.com. The A5 is now fully open following a collision outside Strabane this morning. The two-vehicle crash happened on the Strabane Road between Victoria Bridge and Newton Stewart. Police are urging people to drive carefully with regard to current icy conditions. The British-Irish Parliamentary Assembly has unanimously adopted a motion on the contribution of the Good Friday Agreement. It comes with recognition that more needs to be done to address the impact of the Troubles in Northern Ireland. The motion was agreed ahead of the 25th anniversary of the signing of the deal. The inter-parliamentary body, consisting of lawmakers of all parties in the UK's legislatures and the houses of the Oireachtas, say they look forward to future work needed to ensure the achievements of the agreement continue to be built on. The Burton Port to Letterkenny Greenway is progressing. A public consultation on the development is expected to open at the end of this month. With more detail, here's Michaela Clark.
Ohin O'Donovan and AECom Ireland have been appointed in a joint venture as design consultants for delivery of the Burton Port to Letterkenny Greenway, with works on the concept and feasibility already commenced. The identification of an initial study area, development of project objectives and a project execution plan are currently under review by Donegal County Council and Transport Infrastructure Ireland. An opportunities and constraints study will be undertaken, which will identify the key physical and environmental opportunities and constraints within the initial study area. The first public consultation for the scheme is scheduled for the end of March, prior to which a bilingual project website will be set up. A feasibility report is due to be completed as part of the first phase, and a gate review statement issued to the TII to progress to the second stage option selection, which is scheduled to commence in July 2023.
Ireland's incidence of cancer was at the top of the European Union table in 2020 and was 26% above average. A seminar has also heard that death rates from cancer here in the same year were 11% higher than average, according to estimates from the OECD. Rachel Morrow is Director of Advocacy at the Irish Cancer Society. She says there are a number of reasons why.
We know that we have an ageing population and cancer is primarily diagnosed in older people. The fact that our population is growing as well. We are relatively late compared to the Nordic countries in introducing screening, and that means that it affects the epidemiology and the cancer data that we look at. But there's lots and lots of different reasons.
The Transport Minister says provisions will be put in place to protect renters when the eviction ban expires. Government has agreed the scheme will end as planned on March 31st and be phased out up to June. Cabinet is meeting this morning to discuss the ban as well as a budget package for both tenants and landlords. Minister Eamon Ryan says the government has plans to ensure that renters are protected. And there is some disruption on the roads in Donegal this morning due to overnight snowfalls, snow continuing to fall in places. A nationwide status yellow ice warning is due to be lifted later this morning. However, Met Éireann is warning hazardous conditions will remain due to freezing temperatures. Alan O'Reilly from Carlow Weather says the cold spell could remain until the end of the week, particularly in the northwest.
This is more of a cold blast from the north, really, which will possibly last up to Friday, especially in the northern part of the country. But it's not anything like the beast from the east, and we're not going to see temperatures dropping quite as low as that or as sustained as that either. But there is a risk of some heavy wintry falls in northern areas, especially on Thursday and Friday.
Well, weather forecast, frosty this morning with icy stretches, a cold, mostly sunny and dry day with wintry showers, some of those falling at the moment in parts of Donegal. Highest temperatures today just 3 to 5 degrees Celsius. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, have a very good morning.
The obituary notice is for this Tuesday morning, March the 7th. The death has taken place of George Harper, Gorton Amok at Castlefin. His remains are reposing at the home of his sister Ada Key, Demons, Castlefin. Family and friends welcome. Family time please from 11 p.m. until 10 a.m. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock for service of Thanksgiving in Old Presbyterian Church at 1:30, followed by interment in the family plot in St Patrick's Church of Ireland, Donoughmore, Castlefin. Family flowers only please. Donations if desired to St Joseph's Hospital, Stranorlar and Old Presbyterian Church, Care of Rolston Funeral Services. The death has taken place of Martin McNeilish, 40 Glendale Drive, Letterkenny, and formerly of Lockross Point, Ardra. His remains are reposing at his former home in Lockross Point, Ardra. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30 to the Church of the Holy Family, Ardra, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time from 11 p.m. until 10 a.m. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to St Connell's Garden Centre and Comfort Fund. The death has taken place of Robert Bobby Neely, Carrick, Trenta, Letterkenny. Remains reposing at his niece's home, Louise Neely, Carrick, Trenta. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon for 2 o'clock service in Trenta Presbyterian Church, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral service can be viewed live on Charlie McClafferty, Funeral Director's Facebook page. Family time please from 10 p.m. to 12 noon and on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place in Coventry, England, of Richard Doherty Little, formerly Tandragee, Clonmany. His remains will arrive at the Bridgend border this evening at approximately 7 o'clock, going to St Mary's Church, Clonmany, to repose overnight. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to St Columkill Village, Care of Comsky Funeral Directors. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Josie McHugh, Lochdoon, Portneuf, County Donegal. Funeral Mass at St Connell's Church, Kilclooney this morning at 11 o'clock, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Josie's Funeral Mass can be viewed live on Chauvelin's Funeral Home Facebook page. The death has taken place of William Hancock, late of Crahannon, Quigley's Point, County Donegal. Funeral leaving his late home this afternoon at 1 o'clock, followed by burial in Redcastle Parish Churchyard. Family flowers only, donations in lieu of desire to the Donegal Hospice, care of Mrs Ruth Hay, funeral director. And the death has taken place of Pat Porrick McCann, 39, Rosemount, Kilmacrennan, and formerly Screen, County Sligo. Funeral from Pat's daughter Claire and Michael Shaughnessy's home at Ballyheron, Kilmacrennan, this morning at 11:30, going to St Columbus Church, Kilmacrennan, for 12 noon Requiem Mass, which can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. House private to family on the morning of the funeral, please. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers if desired to the Oncology Day Ward, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
The fines for 16 driving offences have doubled and could now cost you as much as €160. €160. That's enough for a brand new pair of runners, or some swanky headphones, or a year of streaming, or a nice meal out somewhere, or tickets to the theatre. Don't get fined. There are better things to spend your money on. For a full list of updated fines, visit rsa.ie. Always follow the rules of the road. A message from the Road Safety Authority.
Okay, coming up very shortly, Community Garda information with the latest news and appeals from An Garda Síochána, 10:30 or thereabouts. We have our second finalist in our Irish Music Month search for talent competition. And look, we've discovered that we have so much talent here years ago, but this is about catapulting someone onto a national stage even further. Oisín Nee's Act Number 2. He's joining us after 10:30. Just to remind you that if you want to watch the performance and the show in general, get onto our YouTube or Facebook channels. You can watch us all day, every day. Well, for 3 hours anyway. But of course, too, you can watch John Bresden's, his interviews, watch the DL debate last night with Brendan, Oisín Kelly or Dermot with the score, and Ivan. You can watch him live on our social as well, Monday night sessions. So tons of video content for you there. A caller says, look at Letterkenny with derelict buildings. I walked up Port Road yesterday and all the buildings on the left-hand side are falling apart right up to the old courthouse. Another bus Fida runs a great service from Letterkenny to Galway, toilets included and quicker as well. Okay, well, that's access to a toilet is very, very important. Really is. Hi, listening this morning, and we had the same problem coming back from Dublin Airport on Express bus. There was a toilet, but it was locked and the driver didn't have the key. My 13-year-old daughter was so upset, firstly, because she was in pain holding it in, as she refused to get the driver to stop. Eventually, she allowed me to say to the driver, could he stop in the middle of nowhere? She had to go behind a hedge, so you can imagine the embarrassment and how upset she was as the bus was so busy. It was terrible, so upsetting for her. And not insignificant in that moment, too. I would say it remains actually really quite disturbing for her. That's not a nice experience. How long ago was that, by the way? Because why are these toilets no longer... I understand they were closed, were they, because of COVID? But why is the toilet locked on the Dublin Airport to Donegal bus? Is it still locked? Just in relation to Greenon Avalia, we visited New Grange in County Meath a few years ago, and what a setup that is. A big car park, massive tourist centre and buses on a loop to take you up and down to the monument, and a tour guide when you get there. Always said, why does this not happen at Greenon? And not being biased as a local, but the views Greenon have are miles ahead of New Grange and probably plenty of other places with a better standard for the locals and tourists to visit. Another, that's the thing, trains have toilets. Yeah, trains have toilets, but Donegal doesn't have trains, but I take your point. Hi, Greg. Yesterday evening at near 6 p.m, I was in Lidl in Milford and I asked a member of staff, had they toilets, or could I please possibly use it, as I have shingles and with medication treat shingles, have to keep drinking water. But the man told me, sorry, only staff toilets, and I could not use it as they're not working. No flush. I said, okay, thank you. When I got to till to pay, the lady in front of me asked the girl on the till, do you have toilets? Could I use them? And the girl said, yes, no bother. I opened the door for you. I did not say nothing. Well, you should say something. it's funny because, like, Little and Donegal Town, they have pretty good public toilets there for the public. You know, you don't have to ask a question to sort of get in. The Little Milford might be a little bit older, not quite as modern. There is usually toilets on the busways bus, says a caller. It's only a 5-minute stop in Sligo. No time for anything, should be at least 10 minutes. Another, primary school children are too young and secondary school students too easily influenced to be introduced to discussions or displays of transsexualism. What next? Being a teenager is confusing enough without worrying you are in the wrong body. Why is this being forced on school children? But it's not being forced. We're having the conversation now, right? And, you know, parents have the absolute control here. If there's something happening that you don't want to happen and you organise, you can make it not happen. I'm not saying organise on this issue, but, you know, we are not. If we want to make a difference, we can. That's been proven. But it's how it's being discussed is the critical thing here. There's no point pretending, I don't think. There's no point pretending something doesn't exist when it clearly does. It's how it's taught and how it's discussed, surely? No? Yes? 086 60 25,000. Now, the problem with this issue is that people's views are generally incredibly strong, and they believe that there's something going on here in the background and it's part of a big plan or something. I'm not saying all people feel that, but, you know, we do get texts in along those lines, and then you get the other side who, you know, might be extremely liberal in certain areas. Hi, Greg. You are aware that transgenderism is being introduced to national school children in the UK by men posing as drag queens, putting on shows in school gyms. A video emerged last week from Wales showing a half-naked man pole dancing in front of infants after reading non-binary nursing rhymes. Parents have a right to be concerned. Well, the parents were sitting there with the children. I did see that. I don't know what the context of it is. I am not familiar with drag acts putting on shows in schools to educate children about transgenderism. Are you saying that is what's happening? I know people are concerned about drag queens. I see it on the internet. I mean, I don't know if you go and watch, like if you go and watch a panto, it's full of I'm not saying they're drag queens, but, you know, the whole thing about it is, and it's been for years in panto, it's been, you know, fellas dressed up as women. So, I mean, it's not anything new. I mean, you were all raised seeing that. I'm sure most people listening to the show have been to a panto, right? It's context. So what are they saying? I don't. Now, if they're there dressed up as in drag and you're saying they're teaching children about transgenderism, I haven't come across that myself. I'm not saying it's not happening. I just I haven't seen it. I think there's a few things being conflated here, and we need really to get to the bottom of it. I'm open to have the whole conversation, but I want it to be fact-based. You get me? Parents need to open their minds and their eyes, and parents need parents need to open their eyes and parent their children. But if sex under 17 is illegal, whether the person wants it or not, then surely it's an offence and Garda should be called. Right, that's okay as to what might be happening in teenage get-togethers. Okay. Sad to say, this is happening everywhere. Scary how sexualised our young people have become. This was off the back of a parent yesterday. Their children went to a came back horrified from a teen disco somewhere, don't know where it was, because the young people were engaging publicly in sex acts, and this child was so upset they told the parents. Greg, I'm past these discos, thank the Lord. What goes on is disgusting. In and out, alcohol-fueled bouncers and owners of these clubs must take responsibility. Also, Garda should be allowed to enter these premises. Remember, Greg, these are minors. Why would Garda not be able to go in and check what's going on? Someone said that yesterday. I'm like, well, how do undercover Gardaí work in terms of dealing with drugs and stuff in different places around the country? I mean, of course, guards can go in anywhere, presumably. I've never tell of a guard not being able to go into a nightclub because they weren't invited. Morning, Greg. Absolutely a moral issue in the disco. If children are brought up with morals for themselves and others, that would not be happening in a disco. It's the parents to blame. Most don't care and think it's funny. They should be responsible for their children. But saying that, the parents, most of them have the morals of an alley cat. Well, listen, come here. That's a sweeping statement, isn't it? parenting is very, very difficult at the moment. Always has been, I'm sure. But there's an awful lot of influences, competing influences to what you try and teach your children. For everything you try and teach them, there's 10 things telling them to do something else, or this is right, or express yourself, or be in control of yourself, or it's your body, do whatever you like. You know, and parents are trying to say, well, you know, it's your body, respect it in this way or other. It's tough being a parent. In this day and age. It's tough being a young person too, let's not forget. Right, and on they come, loads of different topics, as you can imagine. We appreciate all of your contacts, and we'll keep dipping in and out of them as we wear on, but we've lots to get through. Community Garda information on the way, and then live music with Oisín Nee, our second finalist for our Irish Music Month search for a local musical hero competition.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 7th of March. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S7. It's game number 10. The numbers are 4, 76, 1, 19, 68, 69, 58, 35, 24, and finally 3. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Sleek, smooth, safe, modern. Oh, you want to hear more? Do you want to drive the most modern car in Donegal? There's a reason why it's our county's favourite car. The brand new diesel Kia Sportage, the multi-award-winning SUV, is available at iMotors now. Our team will take care of all of your needs. Visit imotors.ie or call in to us today, because how you feel when you drive is important to us.
If you smell gas at home or on the street, don't ignore it. Open windows and doors. Don't smoke, vape, or use a naked flame. Don't unplug or switch anything electrical on or off. Turn off the gas at the meter. Then, no matter who your gas supplier is, call Gas Networks Ireland on 1800 20 50 50. Visit gasnetworks.ie to screenshot the safety steps, save them to your device, and share with friends and family.
Get ready for the all-new Pulse venue with state-of-the-art sound and light, and all-new decor. Reopening Saturday 18th of March with the Whistling Donkeys. Tickets on sale now. See Pulse Letterkenny on Facebook for updates.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127. The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91260025.
Okay, it is Tuesday, the 7th of March, 2023, just after 10, so it's time for Community Garda information. And in studio with us today is Garda Claire Rafferty from the Milford Garda Station. Claire, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's good to have you in. Right, okay, let's start with some appeals. And Gardaí looking for the public's assistance as it relates to assaults in Stranorlar.
Yeah, so we're investigating an incident that occurred in Stranorlar on Tuesday, the 28th of February, so a week ago. And it happened between 4 p.m. and 4:15 p.m. 3 male students were walking from school together to catch their bus. They turned off the main street in Stranorlar onto a laneway that links with the railway road. So the school buses usually park along the railway road, or the Mart Road as it's otherwise known. The laneway in question is next to the pedestrian lights near the bus station, so I hope people know where we're talking about. The 3 students were followed by a group of male youths who launched an unprovoked attack on them while in that laneway. The 3 students in question sustained injuries as a result of the assaults on them. Now, thankfully, none of which are life-threatening in nature, but still it was an awful ordeal for them. So we want to appeal to anyone who was in the area who witnessed this incident to contact us in Letterkenny Garda Station 074 9167 100, or to confide in their parents or a teacher if they're a minor. You know, if a student knows this happened, please tell someone who will in turn tell us. We also appeal to any road users who travelled at the main street, Stranorlar or Railway Road around that time who had any dashcam footage to make that available to us. Now, we are aware this incident was recorded and we are in possession of that footage, but we want to make sure we have everything we can get here. And finally, we appeal to all parents, please speak with your children in relation to the seriousness of this type of behaviour and in relation to the potential life-changing consequences it could have for them and for others in the future, you know.
You know, we've seen all too often, unfortunately, one strike, someone goes down, hits their head. But also, we don't see much of this, and we want to discourage it, and the way to do so is that whoever is responsible is dealt with.
Yes,
it's horrible for the 3 young people involved in this and their parents.
Yeah, like I'm sure the people who did this wouldn't like it being done to them either.
No.
You know, people need to be educated and made aware that it can have serious consequences for everyone.
Yeah, horrible incident, really is. Okay, let's deal now with a theft at Oliver Plunkett Road.
Yeah, so Letterkenny Garda are investigating this theft, which happened in the parking area at the Celtic Apartments on the Oliver Plunkett Road in the town, and this happened on Saturday 25th of February between 9am and 9:15am. So a lady had parked her car there and she placed her phone, a black Samsung A12, on the bonnet of her car while she was transporting items in and out of a nearby building. And while she was in the building, she realised she forgot to lift her phone, and when she went out to retrieve it, it had been stolen. So we appeal to anyone who was in the area during that short time frame who may have observed suspicious activity of any kind to contact Letterkenny Garda Station.
Yeah, and it wasn't just left behind them. Maybe the person listening who lifted the phone has it. Leave it back. Okay.
Please.
Because a lot of people too have... It's not just the phone itself. They've got memories on it and all things like that as well. Right, let's go to the south of the county now. Your colleagues in Ballyshannon are dealing with an incident in Bundoran.
Yeah, so they're looking for witnesses to a criminal damage incident that happened on Sunday the 5th of March. So Sunday just gone, between 12pm and 1pm. A man parked his car on the Church Road, Bundoran, and returned to discover that a window on the car had been smashed. Entry was not gained to the car and nothing was stolen from it, but we want to appeal to anyone who travelled along the Church Road between 12pm and 1pm last Sunday who had a dash cam to make it available to us. And if anyone has any relevant information to offer, please contact Ballyshannon Garda Station. There is 071 985 8530, and of course the confidential line is always there to 1800 666 111.
All right, now concerning a series of instances in the Creasla area, enough to warrant this appeal, Claire.
Yeah, so we're having a bit of bother out there just in relation to criminal damage incidents at the minute. For example, one of them was to a sign for the Church of Ireland at St Columba's Church in Cashel, Creasla. This first incident occurred in September 2022 when a sign for the church was broken. This sign was at the junction for Doe Castle in Cashel on the R245. That sign was salvaged and re-erected, but now there's been a second incident and it's believed to have occurred on February 10th, 2023. A sign was erected at the junction for Carrigart, the R245 and the N56, and it was bent and destroyed. Both signs are aluminium and brown in colour. So we appeal to anyone who may have any relevant information in relation to these incidents to make contact with us in Milford Garda Station on 074 915 3060. and we urge the public to please contact Garda without delay should they ever witness vandalism or mindless acts of criminal damage.
Yeah, and crimes like this are crimes against the community, and we know there's no community has had to endure what Creasle has had to endure.
Absolutely.
Whoever's doing this needs to stop.
Absolutely. It's ridiculous.
Right, okay, let us talk now about helplines.
Yeah, so we have posted a number of helplines on our Garda Facebook page. So when tragedy happens, it reminds us of the need to be supportive and kind towards each other. The topic of suicide and the topic of our mental health are not topics that should only be up for discussion when a tragedy actually happens. Unfortunately, this is human nature, and people are often hesitant to open up to others when they are feeling low or having suicidal thoughts. We urge anyone who is listening at the moment who is suffering to please reach out, talk to somebody, ask for help. There is help there. We all suffer from mental health issues at some point in our lives, and there's certainly no shame in that. Talk to a friend, talk to a family member, or talk to us or to a member of a support organisation. We see both sides of it in our job. Some people reach out to us in time before it's too late, and we're delighted when they do. It's when people don't reach out to us and it's too late for us to help them then.
And it is an emergency. Not that long ago, we spoke to a person who was so thankful of the Garda. He made a call, got the response, and I was able to chat to him a couple of years later, and he was in a crisis moment.
It can make all the difference.
So it is an emergency, and the emergency
Absolutely.
3-digit numbers there.
Yeah, and look, these helplines are very good too. I spoke to someone recently who reached out to Pieta House, for example, and they managed to get him through, so don't be afraid, reach out and ask for help. Don't hesitate to contact the Garda if you need to talk or any assistance of any kind. We are always available 24/7, and I'll just give you the numbers for all the Garda stations. So Letterkenny is 074 9167 100. Milford is 074 915 3060. Buncrana is 074 93 20540. And Ballyshannon is 071 9858
Yeah, and as you say, any of us, anyone, anyone can contact me at any time, any stage if they need any help. And the majority of us are like that. I think maybe more so nowadays, people have different points of views and all this type of stuff. And maybe that's created a space where people feel that they could be judged or that people don't want to hear them. I don't know anyone that wouldn't want someone they know or even don't know, but someone they know and care about, not to call them at any stage and say, look, I'm not in a good place at the moment.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I don't know anyone who'll turn you away.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to help. If you're in a crisis situation or you're feeling down, feeling low, just reach out.
And you're so important. People are so important and leave such great gaps when they leave. So please listen to Claire's advice there. Not just now, but any time you might feel like that. And the Gardaí will assist in any way they can. So don't suffer if you're suffering. Don't suffer in silence. Even if you feel maybe you can't reach out to friends or family, the Gardaí are there and will treat it as the emergency if it is such. Okay. And check out the Garda Facebook page. All that information that Claire's just related as it relates to those numbers or help numbers, they're all there and are available to you. Okay, right. I think kind of what happened out at the 4 lanes is the public decided their own speed limit here. That's kind of been the way that they thought, I'm not doing 50, 70s.
Yeah.
Somewhere in between. That's the sense I got from driving on the road, because you did do 45, 50, you were in people's way, if the truth be told. But look, at the Gardaí have been looking at the speed limits.
Yeah, I think people are forgetting the reason the speed limit is there, so we're just going to address that. And the guards from Letterkenny Roads Police Unit were out there over the weekend conducting speed checks on the 4-lane road between the Polestar and the Dry Arch roundabout. A number of drivers received fixed charge penalty notices for speeding offences at that location, and now these These drivers have to pay a fine of €160 and will receive 3 penalty points. And now that's the minimum, because if they don't pay it in time, it goes up, and if they don't pay it at all, they get summons to court, you know. So we urge all motorists to remember that the speed limit in the area in which there are ongoing roadworks is 50 kilometres per hour.
Now, I will say, if you don't mind, and I don't want you to comment on this, I think it is quite welcome that since the weekend, or very shortly before it, proper clear signs went up. Because I know guards have a job to do, but some of us know what the speed limit is, others don't. Now I'm seeing big 50 kilometre signs, which I think is
and I can appreciate
fair
that.
game. Do you know what I mean? We have to be fair. But
People
anyway,
need to be aware, so it's great that they're there.
They've appeared now.
But please slow down in order to protect yourself, to protect other motorists and passengers, and especially to protect those who are conducting the roadworks. Be mindful of your speed at all times.
Okie doke. Now let's do a reminder of the new, it's 2023, was it? His new Donegal Youth Awards, Claire.
Yeah, so we just want to remind everyone that nominations are being accepted at present, and they must be received by 12 p.m. on Monday the 27th of March in order for people to be considered. So the annual Donegal Garda Youth Awards, in association with the JPC, celebrate outstanding young people between the ages of 13 and 21 years from throughout the country. I'm sure people have heard of this through the show before and have heard some of the young people, but we invite now the public to nominate a young person or a group of young people that they know who are committed to making a difference within their community during 2022. So there are 4 separate award categories for young people, and they are an individual award, a group award, a special achievement award, and community safety award. This year's adjudicators are Judge Cunningham, who's the chair, Inspector McGee, and Councillor Jerry McMonigal as well. So if you want to nominate somebody, you may download a copy of the form via the Donegal County Council website or from the Garda website, www.garda.ie. You may also collect a nomination form at any of the following Garda stations, which are Letterkenny, Milford, Buncrana or Ballyshannon. And once you've completed them forms, they must be accompanied by a media consent form, and they may be emailed to Donegal Garda Youth Awards at garda.ie. Or if someone doesn't feel comfortable doing that, they may be posted to Letterkenny Garda Station and marked for the attention of Grania Doherty, Garda Doherty as well.
Great stuff. Thanks, Claire.
If you don't mind me mentioning that, we also have the final of the school quiz this Thursday in the Mount Errigal here. It's always a great occasion. Everyone seems to get good enjoyment out of it. So we want to wish all the participants the best of luck in that.
Who's the MC? Who's the compere? Do you know who's asking the questions?
I don't even know. Really? I don't know who's doing it this year.
I love quizzes.
I'll be there. It won't be me, I'll tell you that.
All right. Well, listen, Claire, you've enough on your plate. So listen, thanks so much for calling in. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's Garda Claire Rafferty of the Milford Garda Station. That was Community Garda information for this Tuesday, the 7th of March, 2023. We're back with it again after the 10 o'clock news next week. And we'll be back with more on the programme today after the break.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025. Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Guess what? Larkins of New Mills are offering a 4-course dinner for Mother's Day, which includes starter, main course, dessert with tea or coffee, all for an incredible €23. To book, call today on 074 91 266 97. Early booking is advisable. Let our family look after yours this Mother's Day at Larkins of New Mills.
The choices we make determine where we're going. Where will your choices take you? Visit Kelly's Toyota, Letterkenny or Mount Charles and join the thousands of Irish drivers who swap diesel for Toyota Hybrid Electric, lowering their emissions and fuel costs. We've Ireland's widest hybrid electric range, including the Toyota CHR and Yaris Cross. Don't miss out. Order today at Kelly's Toyota, Letterkenny or Mount Charles. You'll never take a wrong turn with Toyota. Built for a better world.
When it comes to fibre broadband, feeling is believing. Whether it's the bliss of speedy downloads in your new pad, family movie nights with more goosebumps and less buffering, or the confidence of knowing your home office is future-proofed on the ESB network, Cyro 100% fibre broadband lets you experience life without limits. Believe in the power of Cyro broadband and feel the difference of fibre today. Search your air code at cyro.ie. Cyro, do life different. Available in selected areas.
The world is getting a little more. But maybe more could mean something else. More means more proactive green energy solutions. More means more wind turbines and more recycling. More means more biodiversity and more energy storage. More means more hydrogen and more solar farms, because more clean energy means more efficient living, means more thriving communities, means more energy autonomy. That's why we're more than Mona. Learn more at morethanmona.ie. Board na Mona.
How well do you know your mum? Find out with our fantastic Mother's Day celebrations at Foyleside Shopping Centre, Saturday 11th of March from 12 to 3 p.m. Enter our fun-filled quiz, How Well Do You Know Your Mum? Live with Jerry Lavs for your chance to win amazing prizes for your mum. See Foyleside Shopping Centre's Facebook page for details.
Okay, now it is time to welcome onto the programme our second of 4 finalists as part of the Irish Music Month. We are going to be selecting one winner of our final 4 who will go on to represent us, the region, at a national competition. And delighted to say good morning now to Oisín Nee. Good morning, Oisín.
Morning, Greg. How's it going?
How are you getting on?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good stuff. It's great to have you back on the show, and great to see you in the final 4. Lots of people. It's like I said to. I was saying to James yesterday, you're at this quite some while. You're doing well already. This is another opportunity just to get your art and your music out there, and it's great that you're a part of it.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, and yeah, just thanks very much for having me.
Tell us a bit about yourself, because we've talked before, but for those that are new to you, from Letterkenny?
From Letterkenny, yeah. I've been, singing since I can remember, and I started songwriting when I was about 15, I want to say. And I started posting some videos online, and it's just kind of gradually grown ever since. I've gotten the chance to work over in America the last few years, which has been amazing. One of the videos I had posted was just randomly picked up by an executive, and so I've gotten to work with this production company over there.
And who've worked with some amazing artists as well. So, I mean, that's just invaluable experience for you, Oisín.
Absolutely.
An opportunity as well, hopefully. Now, you also accompany yourself on the keyboard. How long have you been playing the keyboard for?
I've been playing for quite some time. I started out with kind of classical lessons, and then, I don't know, I didn't really mesh with that kind of world too much, but I came back to it myself then later, and I just kind of I play more by ear nowadays, so that's more kind of my...
Yeah, and when you're doing your songwriting, do you write your songs at the piano?
I do. It's kind of between the piano and the guitar, and I have my kind of wee home setup, and
And this is something you really want to make a go of. I mean, as I say, you're young, and that's a positive thing. The world's your oyster here. You're already enjoying success. As I say, you've built your own sort of online following and your online support there. We've played you out here on Highland. You've had those opportunities in America, and it's just taken every opportunity, I suppose, Oisín, that comes. Like, is it exciting for you, or do you take things are you a cool dude, or do you get excited by all this?
I may seem like pretty chill on the surface, but no, everything that's come my way has been so exciting, and I'm just so thankful for all the experiences I've been able to get from.
So you're like that swan on the lake. You're all calm above the water, and underneath the legs are going like the clappers. Is that it? All right. Listen, whilst we have you in, we're going to get 2 tracks from you. Yes. The song that we're going to ask people to vote on is Arcade. Yeah. And people have heard the People have heard the trailers and seen the promos, and it sticks in your head, isn't it? I mean, as a songwriter and as a melody writer as well, that's always what you're looking for, aren't you? You're looking for something that sticks with a person.
Absolutely, yeah. And this song's probably one of the more vulnerable songs I've ever written. I wrote it about, I suppose, kind of growing up, I had this misconception that everyone had everything figured out around me, and I came to realise that's not the case. Like, no one has life figured out, and kind of use this metaphor of an arcade where, like, I was outside of an arcade looking through a window, seeing everyone play and just being envious. So that's kind of the concept of the song. And
I love when we get it framed like that, because because you listen to it in a different way. I think when you know what the songwriter was thinking in the process, I think you sort of then listen to it in a different way.
Absolutely.
Right, we're going to hear two from you. We've set up Arcade. Do you want to do Arcade first or the second track first?
I'll do the second one first.
Right, okay. And tell us about this one.
So this one's called Grown. I wrote the two of these songs actually with a kind of long-time collaborator, and I've worked with her for a few years. She's called Alexis Kesselman, and she's from America. And so we wrote this actually in pandemic times. It was one of the Zoom sessions we did, which was an interesting time, but it was a great creative time as well. So a lot of songwriting was being done, and the song's kind of about like a friendship breakup, that sort of thing. So kind of took my anger out in it, and so.
All right, Oisín, well, listen, take the headphones off there and get yourself ready. There's no panic. We're going to hear Oisín sing Arcade shortly, but here's another track from him. So, Oisín, whenever you're ready.
Silent on speaking, never find you in between. And don't think I forgot about the things you promised me. I put it all in the bag with the plans waiting to happen. Maybe one day on another planet. We're about to go down, I can't make this up. I live in a lone town, filling up your cup. You got all your people now, sending all my love. Wish you luck when the going gets tough. We're about to go down, you already know. I guess all along I was dancing on my own. Never said you're leaving, but you just let me go. That's fine, whatever makes you feel grown. That's fine, whatever makes you feel grown. Yeah. Now I can clearly see we're going under. I can't believe I thought we'd make it to the summer. Guess I'm a burden now. This house is burning down. I'm in the flames, you won't even try to put it out. Silent on speaking, never find you in between. And don't think I forgot about the things you promised me. I put it all in the bag with the plans waiting to happen. Maybe one day on another planet. We're about to go down, I can't make this up. I live in a lone town, filling up your cup. You got all your people now, sending all my love. Wish you luck when the going gets tough. We're about to go down, you already know. I guess all along I was dancing on my own. Never said you're leaving, but you just let me go. That's fine, whatever makes you feel grown. That's fine, whatever makes you feel grown. Something didn't taste right. Plot twist of a playwright. the grapevine, felt it on the same night I saw it in you. Yeah. Something didn't taste right, plot twist of a playwright, but you gave me no clues. Heard it through the grapevine, felt it on the same night I saw it in you. We're about to go down, I can't make this up. I live in a lone town, filling up your cup. You got all your people, now sending all my love. Wish you luck when the going gets tough. We're about to go down, you already know. I guess all along I was dancing on my own. Never said you're leaving, but you just let me go. That's fine, whatever makes you feel grown, yeah. That's fine, whatever makes you feel grown. Yeah, that's fine, whatever makes you feel grown.
All right, that's Oisín Ní. The first song is performing for us today, and that is Grown. Oisín, a cracking sound again to that track. Where do you see yourself performing? Like, what's your gig?
Where do I see myself performing?
Yeah, like what would you be if you could say, right, this is the gig I want to do now? Would it be you and a piano, a stage, maybe an amphitheatre, lots of people sitting around, a few candles? You know what I mean? Like, what if when you close your eyes, what would your gig be?
I kind of envision myself like, you know, a few songs on the piano like that, stripped back acoustic, but I love kind of arranging stuff, so ideally I would love a big band, love like a string section, brass section, you know, big kind of production. I don't see myself like dancing around the stage now as much, but
I mean, you're incredibly individual, but I think I can pick out little influences here and there. Could you throw a couple of names at me?
A lot of influences. I think early on Adele is kind of what got me into songwriting, definitely. So she's a big inspiration. And then just so I could throw so many names around.
Could be, and it's how you structure the songs too. There's different ways to structure songs. I don't know really much about listening, but is there a particular style that last song Grown is structured in? It's almost like a continuation as opposed to, you know, a verse, chorus. Like, is that a particular style of songwriting, Oisín?
I couldn't even tell you. It's really kind of, I just kind of go with the flow of songwriting with what I'm feeling, and sometimes you're kind of playing on a loop, and you kind of have to play with the dynamics and stuff when writing. But it's very kind of instinctual, and
Good. All right, that's you. That's your individuality. That's what makes Oisín Ní. Okay, well, it is time then to hear Oisín sing his track Arcade. As I say, I'm loving hearing the four finalists and that familiarity, because, you know, it's so important to hear a song a couple of times. Sometimes you can get a song once, but you know, when you hear songs consistently, and this is why radio play is so important, they become so familiar. Your song to me is as fresh in my head as Sam Smith's new track, because I'm hearing both. Do you know that sort of a way? Like, you know what I mean? It's simple as that. It's about being exposed to it and listening to it. Absolutely. All right, then. You can knock the headphones off there, Oisín. Good man. And he is going to sing his track now. This is the entry into the competition, by the way. This is the one we'll be asking you to vote on when lines open on Thursday. And this is his track, Arcade.
I'll watch it play out. It's taking its toll, the way that they're losing control. And I wanna reach out, but I don't know how. I thought I was special, but I'm lost on so many levels. And just when I thought I figured it out, I'm right where I started, untouched and unbroken hearted. And I'm trying to make a sound. Life is moving way too fast, and I just wanna make it last. But I can only watch behind the glass, seeing all the fun they have. I just wanna understand, but I can only watch behind the glass. I'm holding the dice, they're rolling and not thinking twice. I'm not good with chances, always trying to plan it. They're running through lies, making the most of their time. It's automatic, but I'm feeling static. 'Cause I'm right back where I started, untouched and unbroken hearted. And I'm trying to make a sound. Life is moving way too fast, and I just wanna make it last. But I can only watch behind the glass, seeing all the fun they have. Well, I just wanna understand, but I can only watch behind the glass. Can somebody come save me? 'Cause I'm sitting here waiting. Can somebody come save me? 'Cause I wanna start playing. Life is moving way too fast, and I just wanna make it last. But I can only watch behind the glass, seeing all the fun they have. Well, I just do the best I can, but I can't find a way to break the glass.
All right, that was Oisín Arcade, and we'll tell you how you can vote for Oisín if he was your favourite. Oisín, well done, continued success. Thanks for getting involved, and that was awesome. You're awesome. All right, well done to you. All right, good man. Thanks so very much indeed, Oisín Ní there. Okay, as I say, we've got two more acts for you tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday. Then we'll open up the lines for you to pick your winner. Those scores will be combined with an external judge's score, and we will announce the winner then at the start of next week. But as you've heard from our act yesterday and our act today, we are have an abundance of just talent here. There's just no doubt about it.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Anyway, last week I was in the house. I'd done a crossword, watched a bit of telly, made about 40 cups a day, and I just thought today's the day. You see, I haven't been out much since before the pandemic, but I knew the bridge night was on. So I went. It was great seeing them all. They're a really good laugh. I missed that.
Reconnecting with others is always good for your health. Maybe it's time to say hello again, world. A message from Healthy Ireland.
Hi, Marty Morrissey here. The Marty Party is coming to Donegal to the Cranry Hotel in Letterkenny on Friday, March 31st. It's a party like you've never experienced before. Joining me will be Donegal's latest sensational group, Honor, David James and Real to Dance. Also performing will be Eurovision winners Paul Harrington and Charlie McElligan, the stunning Irish dance group Coija, and many more. Win flights, holidays and hampers. Tickets available at the Cranry Hotel. Book now and join us for the Marty Party.
The choices we make determine where we're going. Where will your choices take you? Visit Kelly's Toyota, Letterkenny or Mount Charles and join the thousands of Irish drivers who swap diesel for Toyota hybrid electric, lowering their emissions and fuel costs. We've Ireland's widest hybrid electric range, including the Toyota CHR and Yaris Cross. Don't miss out. Order today at Kelly's Toyota, Letterkenny or Mount Charles. You'll never take a wrong turn with Toyota. Built for a better world.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Fly daily to London Heathrow with Aer Lingus and connect to 80 plus destinations worldwide, including Boston and New York. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Okay, a cold, mostly sunny and dry day, though wintry showers will occur. Highest temperatures of just 3 to 5 degrees. Light to moderate northerly winds will veer easterly in the afternoon. You are tuned to the 9 till noon show. Another hour to come on the programme, so stay right where you are. Just a quick break to catch up on before the news at 11.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Choose life. Choose fun. Choose not sitting at home getting bored. Choose something better. Something really fun. Choose Fundamania. Coming to the Brunswick Movie Bowl from March 3rd. Choose regular, junior or family wristbands and enjoy some of Europe's top thrill rides. Choose fun for all ages. A legendary Fundamania event, 3rd to 19th March. For details, see fundamania.co.uk.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Coming up very shortly, Dr. Joe Kelly's going to be joining us talking history. Today we're going to look back at the Drumbo Martyrs. But let's get a news update now and welcome into studio Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. 3 students have been injured in an unprovoked attack as they walked from school in Stranorlar. Between 4 o'clock and 4:15 last Tuesday afternoon, the group of male students were attacked by a group of male youths as they turned onto a laneway, making their way towards their school bus. Garda have confirmed that they are in possession of footage of the incident. The Health Minister is this morning bringing forward his proposal to Cabinet to abolish hospital inpatient charges. The new rules will come into effect next month. Meanwhile, from tomorrow, a new contract of employment for consultants will be introduced, the new public-only consultant contract. Donegal Action for Cancer Care says the interpretation of 2022 cervical check statistics published yesterday masks what was a very positive story. Last year in Donegal, 7,331 women availed of cervical check, just over 20% fewer than in 2021. However, DACC say after assessing the figures further, the reason for the drop is the fact that 2021 was an extremely busy year during which the service caught up on many appointments which were missed during the first lockdowns in 2020. Garda are investigating a series of criminal damage incidents in the Creeslaw area. A sign for St Columba's Church Creeslaw was first damaged in September of last year. More recently, a sign for the church in Carrigart was destroyed on February the 10th. Introducing free public transport would lead to an increased level of unnecessary trips, according to the Transport Minister. Eamon Ryan told People Before Profits Breed Smith in a parliamentary question that it ultimately would not substantially boost the sustainability of the transport system. And Garda are appealing for information after a car window was smashed in Bundoran over the weekend. On Sunday, a man had parked his car on Church Road between 12 noon and 1 o'clock. Upon returning to the vehicle, the man discovered a window had been smashed. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Michaela, thank you very much.
It's not just that Sarah can't rely on the rains to come this year. It's not just that the only water left could cost her life. It's not just that she has seen all her crops destroyed and she is struggling to feed her little boy. Like thousands of parents living in regions devastated by drought, Sarah is living in fear, and it's not just. This Lent, your help can make all the difference. Visit trocra.org or call 1-800-408-408. Trocra. Together for a just world.
All right, very shortly we'll have our latest edition of Talking History with Dr. Joe Kelly, and we're going to take a look back at the Drumbo martyrs and get an overview of what life was like at that time and what all was going on. And it's interesting. It's going to be interesting, so stay tuned for that. That's coming up for you shortly. If you want to get involved in that conversation too, of course, 08660 25,000. Joe will be joining us on video as well if you wish to watch that. A bad day for renters, says this listener, who'll be homeless after the end of the eviction ban. It's clear this government is on the side of the landlord. By the way, what's happening regarding Micah at present? Well, we're going to be looking at it again very, very shortly. We're in between the announcement of new rebuild costs, which were published. We're waiting for the scheme, the new enhanced scheme, to actually be available to people. There are some people still working through it. I think it's a bit of a standstill at the moment, and we're just waiting for the next development in the story. Can you ask the Garda what's the story on Ukrainian cars that are here over a year? Are they insured? Can't be legal as they're only allowed 3 months when taking car in from the UK, or are you not allowed to talk about it? Seriously, we talk about anything here, and I've talked about it before. I don't want to be defensive, but you know, I'm not going to be silenced on anything, really. We'll talk about whatever there is. No one's trying to. No one has ever tried to. We've asked this question before, both of the Garda and the Insurance Federation, and apparently a arrangement has been put in place between Ireland and Ukraine, whereas the Ukraine insurance policies cover them here. So that's the answer to that question. I'm not sure if it satisfies you or not, but that is what we were told when we asked the question, that there is an arrangement between the Ukraine and Ireland in that regard. Hi, Greg. Just off the phone to Start Mortgages. Up to October last year was paying €524 a month. That was their monthly pay, $524. November, it went up to $724 a month. January, 924, and February 1,025. Now they tell me in March my mortgage is going up to €1,144. Did they not offer you an opportunity to fix after the first increase? If so, where? But this call wants to know what's going on. Venture funds, or vulture funds known as Start Mortgages, that's what they're describing them as, bought permanent mortgages. I'm on a tracker and they've not put me off it. I have this house rented. I can't put up the rent a second time. These people are struggling to pay the rent the way it is. Are our government standing back, doing nothing? This is a serious issue, Greg. Thanks. And one which, listen, to go from $524 a month to $1,144 a month, that's a huge increase. Okay. Is there and this is a question, not there's one thing just I hear in terms of the conversation about people who are renting properties, and this is no reflection or commentary on our last caller there, but there does seem to be an expectation, I've never been in this position before, that there should be no mortgage to be paid by the homeowner, that all the mortgage should be paid by the renter. I just heard a few people talking about this nationally, and they were talking about how, a couple of years ago, the rent on the property paid the mortgage. Now the rent doesn't cover the mortgage. Is there not? Can we expect that a renter covers all of the mortgage of a property? Is there not? It is an investment. It is a collateral. It is something that you're going to be able to liquidate at some point and make money off, I presume. Is there an unfair expectation? And this is just a question, it's not something I really know the answer to. Is there an unfair expectation from people with a second property for all of the bills on that property in terms of the mortgage to be met by someone that they're renting it to? Because it is their investment. It's not the investment of the renter. But just as I say, I was listening to a Vox Pops and a couple of interviews on a national station, and it felt to me like that and maybe it is the expectation, that there should be no outlay other than the maintenance of the building to the building's owner, that the renter should cover it all. Is that part of a psyche? Is that the way it should be, shouldn't be? 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts. Lidl in Letterkenny on the Port Road allow use of the toilet, the one next to Letterkenny Business Park. They don't allow, with a strict no. So I don't know what the ins and outs of that is. The end of the eviction ban is another indicator of how out of touch the current government of Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the Greens are. They appear, in my opinion, to be on the side of the landlord. Is it any wonder how many of the TDs have numerous houses in rental? Or lots of TDs from all different political backgrounds seem to have an interest in the property market. I travel the A5 from Strabane to Newtown Stewart every day, and it's one of the most dangerous roads to be on, not because of the state of the road, but because of the drivers on it. Drivers taking ridiculous risks and everyone is in a hurry. When are people going to realise it's better to be 10 minutes late than to never arrive? Okay, appreciate your comments on that. County Donegal has the scenery, but where is the infrastructure? Our county has been neglected for years, believes a listener here. Another, good morning. I don't know if people have the same problem as I did. I bought 20 bags of smokeless fuel as he told me you can't get coal. We had very bad heat in the house and I rang my plumber to check my heating system and he told me it is the smokeless fuel. And a lot of people are onto him about the same problem. Thanks to Eamon Ryan, he's costing people more money and no great heat in houses. I will just get my coal in the north of Ireland as I need heat in my house as I have a disability. Well, look at that coal, the nuggets, I presume, is that what you're talking of? For me, I've an open fire. The fire's really for the glow. I don't have a back boiler. I find them really hard to light. Sometimes they fire up, sometimes they don't. Maybe it's to do with the wind direction. I haven't a clue. Often you wake up in the morning and the heat is there, but there wasn't much during the evening. As I say, I'm not speaking of all of the products. That's just my experience. It's not fantastic. It's not fantastic. It's not great compared to turf wood or the other old dirty coal, as it used to be known, or as it is known. Could Greg please say a huge thank you to all at the colonoscopy clinic in Letterkenny Hospital? I had an appointment there yesterday, and from the moment I walked in, from reception through to every person I dealt with there, the care was absolutely A1. They are so kind, fun, chatty, and managed to dispel any fears I had about the process, which actually turned out to be seamless and totally pain-free. So a big thank you to everyone in the colonoscopy clinic, and more than happy, by the way, to platform those positive stories, get them into us. As I say, you have to call it out when there's problems, but you have to praise it when the praise is there too. Good morning, Greg. I've no Vodafone coverage in the Moville area. Anyone know what's going on? Is the transmitter down in the Moville area? I know there was some problem with air at the weekend and the piggyback, the likes of Gomo and others. I hadn't heard anything about Vodafone, but anyone else in the Moville area having issues? Good morning, Greg. Could you imagine renting a house to someone and not being paid rent for years and you couldn't even evict them? The law was on their side. How did that make sense? Shouldn't the MICA people get a mortgage ban until their houses are fixed? I thought a no-fault eviction was it was a no-fault eviction ban. If someone was not paying rent, I don't think the ban extended to them, did it? 08660 25,000, let me know. Right, okay. I have a receipt here from something. I'm not sure if I have the... Okay, we'll get back to that. Presume... Okay, no problem. I think it must be for cervicals. Yes, okay, right. That's the lady who was charged €50 and got back in touch with the health centre and got the refund. You shouldn't be charged for those checks, by the way. Last year, Greg, my son booked tickets for the Fomar Festival in Donegal. It was postponed because of events at the time. To date, despite constant calls and emails, we failed to get clarification on a new date or a refund. Can anyone help us? We inquired about that, and I thought we were told at the time that a new date was imminent. We'll check back up on that again. There's a castle out in Inch Island as well that you can't get access to, says a caller. Bradley's Corner Vintage Club are holding a vintage working day on Saturday the 8th of April at Mottalee Road, Desert Martin. Beginners welcome to register your tractor. Call, and we have a number here, it's a long one. So if you're interested in registering for the Bradley's Corner Vintage Club vintage working day, get in touch with us. It's in Desert Martin. Get in touch with us and we'll pass you on that those contact details. Right, okay, gonna take this break, then we'll take in Dr. Joe Kelly and we'll start talking history.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
final call for entry to the .ie Digital Town Awards, celebrating the digital achievements of towns and communities across Ireland with a €100,000 prize fund. Enter by March 10th at weare.ie.
Hello, thanks for waiting. Could you hold the line?
Yeah, no problem.
Now, how can I help you?
Hi, I'm looking to make some updates to my insurance policy.
Have you tried our online portal?
I thought it would be easier to call.
Yeah. No. You're going to have to log on to amend your policy. Thanks for calling.
No, wait. I don't know my password. Get the feeling that your insurer doesn't want to talk to you? At Local Insurance, we understand your needs. Call today for a bespoke quote or find us online at localinsurance.ie. Local Insurance, we'll get you sorted. The Local Insurance Network DAC Trading's Local Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Local Insurance is a tied insurance intermediary of Acorn Brokerage Limited. Acorn Brokerage Limited, trading as Acorn Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Inishowen Credit Union have recently launched Cultivate, an agricultural loan at only 6.55%, APR 6.75%. Call any of their 4 offices for more information or to make an appointment. Inishowen Credit Union, Buncrana, Carndonagh, Moville and Muff, supporting local farmers. Inishowen Credit Union is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
If you need advice on what's best for coughs or colds, or what's best for sore throats or flu, just ask at your local Brennan's Pharmacy. If you need advice on the best vitamins and tonics to put a pep in your step, just ask at your local Brennan's Pharmacy. Whether it's about backaches, headaches, or tummy aches, your Brennan's Pharmacy team can help. If you need advice from someone you trust, we're here for you at your local Brennan's Pharmacy. Buncrana, Clonmany and Creeslow.
All right, it's time to talk history with Dr. Joe Kelly, historian. Good morning, Joe. How are you getting on?
Greg, is luck good morning to yourself there and to all on Highland Radio.
It's great to have you with us. Right, on the 14th of March in 1923, 100 years ago, next Tuesday, will mark the execution of 4 men in Drumbo. Charlie Daly, 26 from Kerry, Sean Larkin, 26 from Derry, Daniel Enright, just 23 from Kerry, and Timothy O'Sullivan, 24 also from Kerry. They were the only executions that occurred in Donegal throughout the Civil War, and we're going to talk about that today. But before we get to that, let's set the scene, the national scene at that time, well, we'll start off with what was the situation in the country in the lead up to the Civil War. I mean, we've touched on some of this, I suppose, in the past, Joe, but no harm returning to it and, as I say, setting the scene so we can paint the picture of the time in our minds.
Well, I mean, that's a very good question, because then we end up getting into a civil war, and what caused it was basically the treaty. The English government, Lloyd George and Churchill in particular, were giving us a 26-county Ireland, Dominion status. It wasn't a republic. This 1918 election that was fought by Sinn Féin was, if you want a republic, vote for Sinn Féin. And so this created a controversy and a difficulty for the manhood and womanhood of Ireland. Which side now were they going to come down, and were they going to accept this treaty or not accept the treaty? They had a vote in the dial. 4 of the Donegal TDs voted for the treaty, actually. Joseph McGinley, Patrick McGoldrick, Joe Sweeney and Peter Joseph Ward voted for it. And there was 2 from Donegal, 2 TDs, Joseph O'Doherty and Samuel O'Flaherty, who voted against it. So that was replicated throughout the length and breadth of Ireland, people taking different sides. The vote went ahead. There was 13 days of a debate from the 7th of December right into January 1922, and the pro-treaty side, led by Collins, won the vote anyway. The dial vote 64.
So Joe, what were how did it come down to each side? Like, what was, if I were pro-treaty, what was I feeling? What was being given away or sold out, or who was I most sort of aligned with in ideology? And then maybe give us an insight into the flip side of that, those that would have thought this was a good idea.
Well, you see, the first thing I need to say from the outset is, when talking history as we are, Greg, we have to try to understand not from today's perspective, because there's so much historical information and documents, even in the last 10 years, that have become available that would change our minds on the realities of what happened back then. So we have to go back to how they saw it as opposed to
yeah.
how
But
we...
if I was accepting the treaty, what I'm trying to get at was, would I be thinking this is the best we could do? Half a
Yes.
loaf is better than no bread at all. Would have been the discussion I would have been having with someone who said, look, we've given so much, we need to hold out and get all of our country back.
Yeah, well, so the pro-treaty side led by Collins knew that he didn't have the men nor the arms to take on the British Army. They were told, if you don't accept this within 3 days, you're gonna have a terrible war. That was the threat. And Collins said, look, this is not freedom, but it's freedom to achieve freedom. It's a stepping stone. And he was genuine in that respect, because we'll maybe get a chance to talk about the Northern Offensive. The treaty didn't affect the 6 counties. So the fighting continued there, and Collins supplied arms, and men from the south went up to fight to continue. So in that sense, he meant what he said. We'll take the 26, and he did fight for the other 6 while he was alive. Now, the anti-treaty side would have been seen as the de Valera side, saying, no, this is not what we want. We want a republic. We want to be sovereign in our own understanding, having our own destinies in our own hands. And this is where it fell down. The reality was, and historical documents of recent have shown, that the British government were never, ever going to let the Republican government succeed. If they had come to power, it was seen, you can see now in the memos that Churchill had sent at the time, that they were going to go through the 6 counties and back in and invade Ireland. That was their plan. They were not going to accept a Republican government. Yet the Republicans said, well, we didn't go and fight for a war of independence. We haven't fought the English for all these years to accept a divided Ireland. Now, the problem is this, and this is where we come into the Dunbro Martyrs later and other questions. What does it mean to be a Republican? And for most of the Republicans, I would think, that fought in the Civil War, their understanding of republicanism was a separatism, that they were separate from England. They were soldiers primarily, and then when Ireland would have its own sovereignty, it was up to the people of Ireland then to decide the nature of that republic, because there were different opinions. So one side of political parties and another side of political parties trying to claim republicanism, it was never defined. And Carol Akerman did an interview with Michael Collins in 1920, and he just asked him out straight, what do you mean about a republic? And Collins said, it's never been defined. And I would even argue, to this day as a nation, we've never defined what it is when we say I'm a Republican. I mean, Trump is a Republican, but he's nothing to do with the Irish republicanism, but his ideology is republicanism. So there's so many, they've defined republic in 65 different ways. So look, this led to a controversy, and basically the English were not going to accept a Republican government in Ireland, weren't going to accept it. And what exasperated the situation...
Well, let me ask you, before you go on to that though, right, we don't know what we never defined it. What did the British define as a republic?
Where we be sovereign, and then without the king and without the British government, and not under Dominion status.
Just simple as that.
Their understanding of Britannia rules the wave, and their arrogance as to the empire, and they still have that arrogance. I mean, they've made Northern Ireland to a political football for the last 100 years. But look, we maybe get chatting about that again.
Yeah. Well, you talked about sort of the national overview, right? In terms of politics, those that were in the Dáil, the majority were pro-treaty. But how did that, in terms of numbers? No? Was it not 4-2?
Yeah, 64-50.
Yeah, so how did that play? How did that play out on the ground then? Was it geographical differences? Was it differences within villages? What was life in Donegal like on such a divisive issue?
Brilliant. You see, again, it was down to the personal opinions of the TDs that were there. It's interesting that all the female TDs in that government voted against the treaty. It's interesting that the Common the Man had a conference in, I think it was about March 1922, and of the 500 plus delegates, 86% voted down the treaty. And it's interesting as well, some research has been done on the 576 veterans that survived the GPO 1916. They were asked what side they were on, and 41% of those didn't take one side or another. So it's not that clear cut. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And I think we're almost moving into that space now on various issues whereby a lot of stuff is 50-50 uncertainty, very strong views on one side and another, indifference in the middle, and maybe it's back to the past now. Can we talk a little bit about the Northern Offensive? You mentioned the Northern Offensive. What is define that for us?
Okay, well, just to give you the background to the Northern Offensive, basically the anti-treaty had taken up in the Four Courts. That was their headquarters. And Collins didn't want a civil war. De Valera didn't want a civil war. And so he tried to work two ways. He tried to make a coalition with the anti-treaty side and say, look, we'll fight an election on separate views, but we'll come back together. And what we'll do is we'll keep fighting for the North. And in this way, Collins was hoping that he would appease the anti-treaty side. And so what he did was he negotiated with the anti-treaty side and about 600 to 700 men. And among those was Charlie Daly, who was sent to Tyrone and Derry to continue the Northern Offensive, as he called it. And he supplied them with guns. And what he said was, I can't give you the guns I'm getting from the British government now to fight you. So you use your guns and I'll give you some of the guns that we're getting to replace the ones that you're going to take up to the north. So he was working with them, and I mean he was genuine about what he said. We'd take the 26 and we'd fight for the other 6. So what happened then was Wilson, he was an MP, he was considered probably one of the 4 men that brought an end to World War I. He was a man from Longford, and he became then a Unionist MP, but he was in the army, Henry Wilson, and he was shot dead in London on the 22nd of June in 1922. And basically Churchill and the British government said, right, that's enough. Collins, you better get those men out of the Four Courts, those anti-treaty men. We're not tolerating anymore this anti-treaty business in your country. And if you don't sort them out, we're going to send in. And at this stage, England, the English had still about 6,500 men still in Dublin. And they said, we are going to attack the Four Courts if you're not going to do it. So look, that then spilled out into the beginning of the Civil War. And it comes then back to Donegal. But the problem was the Northern Offensive was still ongoing while this Civil War started. And people like Charlie Daly, Enright, Larkin O'Sullivan and Shanley Lahan and others, about 600 to 700 from the southern brigades from Kerry, Cork, had come to Donegal, to Tyrone, to Derry, to Fermanagh. And here now they're confused. What's going on here? Are we continue to fight here for the Northern Offensive, or are we now in a civil war situation? And how is the Free State Army in Donegal going to deal with us? So that then led to a lot of confusion. And Joe Sweeney was appointed the officer in command of Donegal for the Free State, and Sean Lahan then became the top man, the commander for the anti-treaty side. And one could say that the last fight of the War of Independence, which continued in the north, and the last time that the anti and pro-treaty side worked together was in the Battle of Petticoat and Ballick. The Northern Ireland government and soldiers were attacking into, and if you look at Ballick and you look at Petticoat, the bridge, there's a bridge, most of Petticoat's in the south. Well, they were claiming Petticoat, and it's the same with Ballick. There's a bridge there as well, but most of that is in the north, as it is today. And so there was a battle going on there. It lasted 13 days from the 22nd of May to
What
the 8th
kind of a
9th.
battle? What are we talking about? How many men? What kind of equipment are we talking?
Well, so the anti-treaty and the pro-treaty were working together to push back the Northern B Specials. And Churchill had sent over armoured cars. He sent over a shipload of men and armoury to put in place that he was going to take on this he blamed the anti-treaty side. He didn't realise that Collins's pro-treaty side was working with the anti-treaty side. In fact, Joe Sweeney, who was the officer in command for the Free State, went to Petticoat during the battle. He was actually shot at. So Collins played dumb. He said, look, I don't know what's going on. It must be the anti-treaty side. But all along, he did know. And that was so what happened was basically there was a shootout, and the English had about 1,500 soldiers. The forces that they used, the equipment that they used against 150 on the Irish side, I mean, they did very, very well. Unfortunately, three men were shot in the Battle of Petticoat. 3 men were killed, IRA men, Flood, McCanny and Kearney, and there's a statue there in Petticoat to commemorate them. But the English army secured Ballick And it was clear from that they were not going to relinquish their control of the 6 counties. They would support it in every way possible, and that if the Republicans were to succeed in the Civil War, their plan was to go back into Ireland, and they were going to use the North as a way to come down back in. And they had a plan to go from Derry to Bundoran almost immediately, and then move out from that side into the south that way, and then move down to Drogheda. So that was their plan. So the Civil War then breaks out. The men here in Donegal don't know what's going on. What are we going to do? So they had a meeting. Sean Nahan, who was the head of the anti-treaty side, and Joe Sweeney, they met in Drumbo. And basically Joe Sweeney said, look, I'm the official army here. You're not. You're an imposter. Out you get. And I'll treat you as an enemy if you don't move back. And this is it. I have a job to do and I'll follow my orders. And Charlie Daly was at that meeting as well. And he was saying, look, we don't want to be fighting with you. This is not our issue. Our issue is the 6 counties. And he said, I'd far rather die at the hands of fighting in the north at the B Specials than at the hands of our own fellow Irishmen. So Charlie Daly very quickly realised where this was heading. And so basically that then led to the 2 sides hardening here in Donegal, the pro and anti-treaty sides.
Hardening against each other? Hardening against each other?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of misunderstanding, unfortunately. And
where would they locate? So was there a HQ for pro-treaty, a HQ for anti-treaty in Donegal then as such? Because I just wonder, everything that we live and experience now is in some way, rooted in the past, whether we realise it or not. So where were there HQs as such, or parts of the county with concentrations of anti and pro?
Yeah, well, there were, right away when the Civil War started, Joe Sweeney almost immediately captured a large swathe from, say, Bundoran right up into Inishowen, that whole eastern side of Donegal. Now, the Republicans were still there. For example, the 2 forces were encamped in Raphoe, one on one end of the town and one on the other, and they had an understanding that they wouldn't shoot each other. But the main headquarters for the Free State Army was in Drumbo, you see, and they were about the Free State Army. We're not 100% sure, but they had at least 3,000 to 4,000 men. The Republicans, at an estimate, maybe had 300-400 men. So, economy of scale. It wasn't going to ever happen that the Republican side were going to win in Donegal, but they continued with their ideology and continued to fight. And there was a number of skirmishes. So, for example, there was a skirmish. They were robbing the Belfast Bank in Buncrana on July, and unfortunately, there was two young girls killed in the crossfire. One was 9 and one was 18, and very sad. But the Republicans were robbing the Belfast Bank for money, if that makes sense, to facilitate their own survival.
For the war chest.
War chest. And this then, the Free State Army said, well, this isn't happening anymore in Donegal. We can't have this. So immediately some extra men were sent from Drumbo to heading towards Buncrana to control that area, and on their way they went into Newton Cunningham, and the IRA had withdrawn from Buncrana into that area, and Charlie Daly had come back over from the border. He was in Tyrone the previous day, and there was a shootout there, and there was four Free State soldiers shot dead there. Now Charlie Daly and others would say, look, it wasn't us that started this, it wasn't our battle, and they'll claim that it was more a accident more than anything else, and that was the Free State shooting at them and them shooting at the Free State. But the Free State had to leave.
But just to be clear, there's people from Donegal on both sides.
Absolutely.
So there are, theoretically, there are people from Donegal, this is only 100 years ago, there are people from Donegal of a particular viewpoint that are turning their guns or would be prepared to on fellow Donegal people with a different attitude.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the sadness of it. For example, in the Free State that day in Newton Cunningham, John McGinley from my own area, from Garda was killed. there was Eddie Gallagher from Burton Port, Dan McGill from Ardra, and then there was an Edward Murray from Science Mill. So 3 of those 4 men that were shot in that shootout between the Republicans and the Free State were from Donegal. And so what happened was Joe Sweeney and the army had the power, had the machine guns, had the armaments, and basically they rooted them out of Raphoe. And eventually then the Republicans had to go on the run, so to speak, and withdraw. And they came back into Glenveigh Castle, and that became their headquarters, and were able to fortify that. And from that, then there was a raid on Drumkeen. There was a Drumkeen ambush. And
well, can we get to that? I'll tell you, I have to. We'll pick it up from there if that's okay, Joe. Because I don't want to. If you've got the time, I want to sort of. We're getting up now, really, to the crux of the conversation. But I do have to take a break, so stay with us. More from Joe after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at HighlandRadio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
New this week in Home Store and More. All Pyrex is all half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price Pyrex is gone, it's gone. Also, all toilet seats and all mirrors and clocks are all still half price. But when all the half price toilet seats and all the half price mirrors and clocks are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More, or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Letterkenny Show Society annual Pedigree Bull Sale will be held in Raphoe Mart on Tuesday 7th of March at 6:30pm with 50 Pedigree Bulls on offer, consisting of 32 Charolais, 8 Limousines, 5 Hereford and 5 Angus. All stock are eligible for export to Northern Ireland. Online bidding available on martbids.ie. That's this Tuesday at Raphoe Mart.
Highland Radio are going to Scotland from Monday the 1st of May to Thursday the 4th of May with the very best of music, and we would love for you to join us. Staying at the 4-star Crown Plaza Hotel in Glasgow, we are bringing with us some of the biggest country stars, including myself, David James, Declan Ernie and Robert Mazzell, to name a few. You will enjoy luxury travel to Glasgow, 3 nights dinner, bed and breakfast with music and entertainment each evening. Join us on the Highland Fling to Glasgow this May for only €575 per person. To book, call Highland Radio today on 074 91 25,000. Early booking is advisable. Single supplement applies.
Okie doke. We are talking history with Dr. Joe Kelly, and we are focusing on the Drumbo martyrs. So in the timeline, Joe, and I don't mean you choose my language to be in any way disrespectful, but where are we at now? Are we coming up to the point where we can talk about their movements before the days of their capture, or have we a little bit of time to bridge before then?
Yeah, well, basically what happens is you're bringing it up there. In July, basically, the anti-treaty side were more or less on the run. They were based in Glenveigh. Then there was the attack on Drumkeen on the 4th of July. They knew that the Free State Army were moving men from Letterkenny to Drumbo being the headquarters. Charlie Daly decided to have an ambush. There was a car going ahead, and a Free State Army car going ahead, and then the lorry with the men coming behind. They held up the car, but the car carried on speeding. They shot at the car, and one man died immediately, and the driver died subsequently, and 2 others in that car were injured. They actually captured them, but released them later on from Glenveigh to get medical attention. So 2 people died again there, 2 soldiers, Free State soldiers. And at this stage, Joe Sweeney was saying, look, we're going to have to squeeze this a lot harder now and push them totally out of the county. And so they realised, the Republicans realised that their net was getting closer and it was getting smaller for them. So they abandoned Glenveigh and went on the run. And they moved more or less into northwest Donegal, into Cloughoneely and Gweedore, and that was the area they were in. And so by September, October, the Free State Army had more or less captured the most of Donegal. There were certain raids, and the Republicans were still carrying out certain raids and things. But for the most part, if you look at the army reports, the Free State were in control of most of the county at that stage. And so that brings us then to the last of the column's survival. They were staying in Garda. They'd been spotted some weeks earlier in and around that area. There was constant raids, and these men were getting exhausted. Daly, Enright, Sullivan, and there were also Cloughaneely men in Donegal. Frank Ward was with them. Dan Coyle from Cloughaneely was with them. So there was a number of them there, and then, for example, raided the co-op in Gweedore, so the Free State Army knew that they were in that area. And then one of the men in Cloughaneely was seen talking to them about a week before they were captured. He was arrested and interrogated to find out, where they were. So they were staying in Garda the night before they were captured.
And would they have been housed by people, safe houses, people sympathetic to their points of views? Like, do we have any knowledge of their movements, where they were moving from, and in what kind of places they were staying, and what their lives were like during that period of time?
Well, there were a lot of good Republican families in Cloughaneely, and some of them are still there. The Cannons, the McLaughlins, they were staying there. The O'Donnells, they were staying in the McGees, they were staying in different houses. And there was two buildings just at the edge of Garda known as Barracks 1 and Barracks 2. One of the houses is still there, Sheila Newgoogan's house, and they stayed there from time to time. And I've recorded a number of people from that time, some of them all dead now, believe it or not, but they telling me that, for example, they would make meals for them, but once they would come into the house, the light would have to go out, and somebody then would be on guard outside. And so on occasions they had to escape out the back door, and different things like that were happening. But the army were getting intelligence information, basically, that these men were in the Cloughaneely Gweedore area, and so therefore they were on high alert for that. And so what happened was they stayed in Sheila Newgoogan's house in Garda and Father O'Donnell's house in Garda, just on the way into Garda, on the night prior to their capture. And they then were taken up in the afternoon to head towards Dunlewy, and the plan was to take them to Fentown. Now, at the same time, Sean Lahan, who was the commander of the anti-treaty forces in Donegal, he wasn't in Donegal, he was in Dublin, had sent a message to Charlie Daly, Donegal's finished, get out. And unfortunately, the man carrying the dispatch, a man from Carrygart, got sick, and so the dispatch never got to Garda. And some would believe that they were spied upon and informed on as they were going up to Cashnagar and heading up and towards Dunlewy, the back way into Dunlewy from Garda, if anybody's familiar with that part of the terrain, and basically informed the Free State Army that these men were heading towards Dunlewy. And Charlie Daly and them were there, himself and his comrades were there in Dunlewy in two different houses, in Sharkey's house in Weenabull. And the Free State Army, led by Captain McBrearty and his men, surrounded the houses. And Daly had said, look, we were exhausted. It was about 7:15 in the evening. We were exhausted, and they didn't put up a sentry or anything like that because they were just too tired. And they were hardly in bed, 7:15, when they were just captured. That was in November 1922. So they were taken into Falcarra barracks, and from that then out to Drumbo.
And what were they charged with?
Well, funnily enough, the court case didn't happen until about 2 months later. And on the 18th of January, now there was Daly and Enright and O'Sullivan and Lehan and Larkin, but there was also Joseph Donaghy from Limavady, Dan Coyle from Falcarra, and Frank Ward from Dunfanaghy. They were all captured. And there was a military court held. Now, this is November when they were captured. January the 18th of January 1923 was when the military court was held. And they were charged for being in possession of armaments and guns, which was, according to the new regulations of the, and we'll maybe talk about that, the new regulations that were imposed by the Free State was that if you were caught with illegal arms, then the death sentence would be passed on you. So the death sentence was passed on them in January, but it wasn't acted upon right away, if that makes sense.
And would a decision have to have been made as to what the right thing was to do next? In other words, what could be the consequence of their execution? In other words, could it be, obviously they wanted to send a message, but it could be counterintuitive that it could actually end up sort of, rallying the troops, let me put it like that.
Well, see, the thing is that the way it worked was that the government, Michael Collins did not want to execute anybody, and while he was alive, he wouldn't allow that to happen. And he died on August 22nd, 1922. But within weeks of him dying, a law was passed, Special Powers Act was passed, which allowed for the death sentence and executions by the Free State. And they realised very quickly that they executed 4 in Dublin, that it wasn't having an effect on the rest of the country. So they delegated the responsibility. In January 1923, each of the local commanders of the Free State in each of the respective counties had the authority to set up a tribunal and to pass judgment for execution. So in essence, Joe Field had been mandated that authority from headquarters in Dublin, because they didn't want it to be an execution always based in Dublin. They wanted to take the executions back into each county to deter Republican activity. And this basically what they were saying was, these men will be executed if you continue to shoot at us or continue to fight in this civil war. And should something happen to one of us, then these men that are on death row, so to speak, that have been death sentence has been passed on them, will be taken out.
Hence the martyrs, then, of course. Can I ask, because I could do another 2 hours on this. I'm just curious, what was the view of the clergy at that time? Because, presumably the local bishop, he would have been above people of all different points of view, maybe trying to find some sort of did the church intervene at all or attempt to, or?
Yeah, well, look, the church would always go with the status quo. That would have been the understanding. That's the history of the Catholic Church in that respect. And they came out with a pastoral letter in November 1922, basically saying that to shoot, that the anti-treaty were committing murder because they were attacking the legitimate government of Ireland. And actually, the Vatican wasn't too happy, and the Pope wasn't too happy with the stance the bishops had taken with regards to this. Believe it or believe it not, they didn't think that they were right in that view to make a judgment of that nature. And so many of the Republicans were, so to speak, excommunicated, even though, as we'd see later on, they all received the sacraments before they were executed, and these were very Catholic and good men in that respect with regards to their faith.
So talk to us then about the day of their execution and how that unfolded and where.
Well, basically what happened was in Creesla, the Creesla Fair Day, there was a shooting. And what happened basically, that was on the 10th of March 1923, a Captain Bernard Canning from Letchermacka Ward, who was in the barracks. A number of men had been drunk and had been arrested, and there was a shootout in which he went to the front door and he was killed. Bullet into the heart, killed from the inside of the door. And the Republicans were blamed, the anti-treaty side were blamed for this. Now, my research would lead me to believe that it had nothing to do with republicanism. It was some men in Creesla that had guns and weren't too happy that some people had been arrested that they'd been out drinking with. And there's various different historical opinions on that. But Father O'Donnell made it very clear, who was high up in the IRA command at that time, that this was not a planned attack by the Republicans.
So are you saying that the Drumbo martyrs then were killed under false pretenses?
Well, I mean, I would argue that all the 77 that were executed was unconstitutional. And in fairness to Leo Varadkar, I mean, he's broached that as well. Certainly the first 4 were unconstitutional. Michael Martin in recent times has also called, we'll call murder murder. Personally, and this is maybe my own perspective and maybe understanding it from a historical point of view, these were tribunals that were court-martials that were carried out by the army, and I don't believe due process was followed. The problem we have now is that when De Valera came to power in 1932, the government that preceded him, the Free State initial government, burned all the records of the tribunals, the military tribunals, knowing that if they were there would be serious questions asked and finger pointing with regards to the validity of these executions.
So how were and when I asked about false pretenses, I didn't mean in the wider scale of things and in a constitutional context. I mean off the back of that incident in Creesla, just in case anyone believes I was saying something differently. So what, they were executed, was it a public? How was that conducted, and then what happened to their remains afterwards?
Well, what happened basically last there, when then within hours of Captain Cannon's message going to headquarters. Mulcahy, then in the headquarters in Dublin, he was the commander-in-chief, sent a message to Joe Sweeney, execute 4 men. And Joe Sweeney says, what, execute 4 men? Sent back a message, can you confirm this? And Joe Sweeney didn't want to do this. He knew these men, he knew Charlie Daly, he went to college with them or school with them. And the order was confirmed. Bishop O'Donnell tried to get on to Mulcahy as well, and phone calls were made. Again, Mulcahy was having none of it. The orders were orders. These men were to be executed. And so Joe Sweeney had to organise their execution. Now, there's a lot of debate about Joe Sweeney. You know, he could have stopped them. He was a man in charge, etc., etc. I mean, that's very controversial. And look, there's families either side of the civil war, you know, the pro and anti side. So one has to be very, very careful. But they were told just the evening before they were executed, on the 13th of March at 4 o'clock in the evening, that they would be executed the following morning. They didn't know at this stage that they were going to be taken out and executed. And so they were taken out the following morning into Drumbo Woods, and the 4 of them were summarily executed, believed to be by men that were former British Army officers. And actually, Joe Sweeney left Drumbo that day not to be there for the shooting. So he didn't actually oversee it. And they were buried there and then in Drumbo. Their bodies were exhumed in 1924, about August, September 1924, taken to Athlone Barracks and then given back to the families where they were later buried. And as we know, there in Drumbo at the moment, there's a Celtic cross was buried there where they were executed in 1955, and another one then on Stranraer, or just on the street there in Stranraer, there was one, and a lovely cross erected there in 1958 as well. So that's just to commemorate the men, the Drumbo martyrs. It's a sad part of our history. And even reading their last letters is very, very emotional.
And I mean, you've got some amazing, you talk of recordings with people with whom they stayed, and it's history, but it's recent history. Finally, what is their political legacy then? Where does it all fit in? Because, I mean, what we've learned from this conversation and previous ones is the complexity of it. You know, the enemy of the enemy is my friend, and interfighting and pushes and pulls for power and what have you. But the Drumbo martyrs, what was their ideology? What's their legacy in a minute or two, if you don't mind, Joe?
Well, fundamentally, as regards their politics, we don't really know. But what we do know as regards their ideology, they were separatists. They wanted us to be independent from England. They wanted us to have our own sovereignty and to then let the people of Ireland decide what kind of Ireland that would be. And, you know, if we could only go back, and we have 2 parties now in government that were anti and pro-treaty either side, if we could nearly go back to where we were before the Civil War and say, look, what are we about here? We're on about a United Ireland. United Ireland is going to happen. The question is, when is it going to happen and how is it going to happen? And what we need here is to honour those men and both sides, both pro and anti-treaty. And I think Neil T. Blaney has always been right in this. There has to be a declaration of intent to withdraw. And that's what they did with Hong Kong. That's what they need to do with Northern Ireland. And then we need to start working at helping the English to leave and the English helping us to take over and work at that. And I think that's their legacy. Their legacy is that the vision of an Ireland for everybody. And it was very interesting when they went into, for example, the houses in Newton Cunningham. One man was very positive towards these Southerners and how they were not bigoted and anti-religious in any way. And then that was very much part of their ideology too.
All right, okay. We could easily do 2 or 3 hours on this subject. We really appreciate, and all of them. Dr. Joe Kelly, we really appreciate your time. Thanks so very much indeed. Have a wonderful day. We do appreciate it. Okay. We're going to be talking about the St. Mary's GEA Club, their unmissable draw. It's to raise funds for the redevelopment of their pitch and clubhouse. Oliver Prunty's going to be joining us after these.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring are 25 years old, and to celebrate we're offering up to 70% off across all tiles, wood flooring and bathware. And each week 25 lucky customers will win their order for free. That's right, for free. Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring, up to 70% off birthday sale now on.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. From March 26th, Aer Lingus will operate a daily service to London Heathrow, providing onward connections to 80+ destinations worldwide. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Okay, let's have a look at the weather forecast. It's escaped me actually at the moment. No, here it is. It hasn't changed really much. I can tell you it's going to continue mostly cold, mostly sunny and dry today, with wintry showers occurring here and there. Temperatures 3 or 5 degrees. We'll tell you about the nighttime forecast as we go on. Oliver Prunty, Chair of St Mary's Club Convoy. Good morning, Oliver. Thanks for joining us.
Greg.
Nice to speak to you.
Me.
Right, really ambitious plans at St Mary's GAA Club in Convoy. Plans to redevelop the pitch and the clubhouse.
Yeah, well, our pitch was constructed in 2004, but over the next 18, 19 years, between worm casting and the build-up attach, it started to hold water, and we decided last year to do something about it. So a company in Buncrano, Pitch Dimensions under William Coyle, took 50 mil off the top of the pitch and put on 10 mil of sand. This was seeded, and it's been a fertiliser programme now under the guidance of a company, ACL, fronted by Coleman Ward, and hopefully the pitch, weather permitting and favourable conditions, will be back on our pitch in the end of April, early May, and no water lying on it, and be able to play every day except if there's a couple of foot of snow.
Yeah, okay.
Now,
well, thankfully that doesn't happen too often.
Now, that was phase 1. Phase 2 is the construction of 2 large dressing rooms, fully furbished, with a multi-purpose room overhead. Now, this is costing a fair bit of money, so the club decided to have a development draw.
But this is a huge investment, not just in the club, but in the community and the future of it.
Oh yeah, we service the parish of Rafoe, which is Rafoe, Convoy and Drumkeen. Now, as well as that, we play games, and we're playing against all teams from all over Donegal. And we are centrally located, and we do get a lot of underage finals and important games because of where we are.
Now, this is it's described here as an unmissable draw. Let me put the word mega in there. This is huge, isn't it? 50k.
Well, 50k is right. 50k on Paddy's Day is what we're calling the draw. So it's only 10 days away, and in 10 days' time, somebody will have €50,000 in their bank account.
There's also 5 prizes of €1,000 as well.
Yes, 5 prizes of €1,000 as well, which are being sponsored by people, thankfully, for that part. But the 50 we have to take from the draw funds. So we decided to go for a limited draw. There are only 4,995 tickets in the draw, and at this moment in time we have about 60% of them sold.
Brilliant.
So we're hoping now in the last 10 days there'll be a big push, and they can be purchased at stmarysgadraw.ie.
Now, you know, a lot of people do online competitions now, right? And the odds are astronomical. This is fixed. This is a fixed amount here.
Fixed amount.
4,995. So, you know, even just for the top prize, that's less than a 1 in 5,000 chance. But there's other prizes, 5 €1,000 prizes, other prizes on offer too between now and the 17th of March. Have you done the bonus draws? Is there still bonus draws to come?
We've done the early board draws.
Right, so they've been done. So there's people walking around with €500 in their pockets off the back of those. But the big one, people have a week to get into, bar the shouting, isn't it? It's not far off a week.
10 days, Greg.
And the odds, compared to what people are paying quite a lot of money for, the odds are actually really favourable on this.
Whoever wins this will have the equivalent of €961 a week in their bank account for the next 12 months.
And a lot of people, to get 50 grand, have to earn 90.
Yes.
Well, this is
so like 50 grand, €50,000 is still a fair amount of money. Now,
if you've got 50 in your pocket, it's more than a fair amount of money.
Well,
it's a brilliant amount of money.
I suppose.
I'd do cartwheels for it.
I better mention that the price of the tickets are €50. I don't know if I said that, but €50, 50 grand for €50, 50k on Paddy's Day.
And you can get your tickets at stmarysgaadraw.ie. It's as simple as that. And to help give it a push in the final week of this draw, I think we've got some tickets to give away in this show, so we'll do that next week. But listen, as I say, this is a limited entry draw, less than 5,000 people. There's 50 grand of a top prize up for grabs, 5 then €1,000 prizes. And all in the process, you're helping to raise funds to continue the redevelopment work at St Mary's GAA Club with really nice, ambitious plans for the clubhouse there, and to bring that club in terms of infrastructure right into the what century are we in now? I haven't a clue. 21st, 22nd. I haven't a 21st century.
21st.
All right,
century,
St Mary's GAAdraw.ie. That's where you go. €50 tickets, maybe presents, whatever you want to do.
Yes.
Just to gift someone, and as I say, limited ticket draw. And you hope for a big rush now.
We hope for a big rush. As I said, we've just over 60% sold, 40% left, and we'd be delighted if we could get them shifted also. So, as you've already said several times, they are 50k on Paddy's Day, €50 tickets at marysgaadraw.ie.
Brilliant stuff. And all tickets are online, are they?
Well, no, sorry. You can get hard copy tickets from committee members as well. Brilliant. We also have hard copy tickets on sale also.
Excellent. So go on to St Mary's GAA Facebook page. I'm sure there's all the details
Facebook
there
and all Twitter and Instagram, all that. But online they can be sourced easily enough.
There you go. If you want to have a dabble, I mean, listen, it's the tickets aren't free either. But look, at a lot of people are buying tickets for something that there's 30, 40, 50,000 people in for. This is a limited entry draw. Well done. Okay, Oliver, you did a great job there. Continued success at the club, and continue the great work that's ongoing, and thanks so much for joining us.
No problem.
If you want more details, stmarysgaadraw.ie. Have a wonderful Tuesday. Back with you tomorrow morning at 9.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny